Good morning, good afternoon, LinkedIn friends, Value First Nation. Welcome to the first episode of Tech Stack Reimagined in 2026. Here with George B. Thomas and Nico Lafakis. How you fellas doing today?
Doing good. Doing
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, doing great. Excited just to have a chance to hang out with you gentlemen. The wife and daughters are in Texas at a dog show. So that gives me some flexibility just to get in front of my computer, hang out on a Sunday. Did church this morning, so now it's time to just get nerdy with the two dudes that I love immense amount of and add some value to the world. So I don't know how it gets better than that, to be honest with you. I don't know how it gets better than that.
It doesn't, for me, at least right now. So I'm grateful for the opportunity. Home sweet home too, for sure. Like I'm back in my own space. And it feels good. And I'm just gonna dive in now. Like even though we're gonna be here for a minute, like I want to make sure we set the stage and get this out of the gate. Like, because this is really just if you can, what we're about to describe in less than 1 hour, you can unlock and realize everything that we're talking about. And George is first with us. We unlocked this, helped George unlock this on November 22nd. So less than 2 months ago.
Yep.
And on that show, like he was already building stuff like real time. And this was 3 weeks after I had a session. I don't think we were live. It's just me and Nico. Because I was like, all right, I've been thinking about this all year. Here's the last mile stuff I'm having issues with. Let's get it done. And in those sessions, and so much of this, so much of what I try to help people understand is a lot of this isn't net new. Like you've already done something and we're just like adding some other pieces, like rethinking it. Right. So as I was preparing for this episode, like in the last hour, right? And I went and I found the crisp transcript and I was like, you know what? Let's hit the summary button.
Yeah.
Of a 3.5 hour session that I had with Nico. And that was just to remember, like, still recovering from old habits where in my mind, I'm like, I need to write a description for this LinkedIn Live event. And I'm starting to draft it. And I'm like, let me go figure out what I talked about with Nico. And I'm gonna, at that moment, I'm gonna look at the summary and then keep typing out the description over here. I'm just gonna read the summary and then I'm gonna do the work to transform it into the description. As I'm reading it, I'm like, okay, copy paste, right? I don't have to draft any. This is exactly what I want to be telling people. And it's exactly what I've been doing manually over and over as we continue to unlock other people, like Casey and Clement and Jeff from yesterday. I'm saying all these things out loud without any script. And in doing so, I'm like, man, how do we make this easier to just help people understand? And now I'm here, right? So what we're going to dig into today is what has happened because of these sessions that we've had, right? And so without reading them all, like I just implore you, the timestamps on the screen are real, right? So of course it started with how important documentation is and strategy and plan. And this is where if you've been a content creator and or just like you're good at that part for your organization, you've got brand identity figured out, like all these things already exist. Like I've been building value first over the last year, like because I had all of this stuff, it allowed me to move as fast as we're going to talk about today, right? We talked about the challenges I was feeling, right? Like you can do some cool stuff with Claude and build apps and get to visuals really quickly, but I had never figured out how to make it publishable on a website without doing a bunch more work, right?
Yeah.
So we talked about, and we introduced Vercel into the equation. So going from Claude to GitHub to Vercel is like the minimal, in my opinion, the minimal inner loop that anybody can set up. With GitHub and Vercel being free to get to proof of concept. And once I saw that in action, I was like, okay, let's go. So we spend the rest of the session talking about it, and some key moments. And I think a good way to think about this is when you open yourself up, you get to leverage the world around you as it continues to move fast, right? So recently, at the time of the conversation, Anthropic had given everybody credits for Claude Code for web, right? And so that was my entry point. So free and clear, like no risk, easy to bring up in the browser, no barrier to entry here, right? So very important. We talked about the development workflow of Claude Code to GitHub to Vercel for automatic deployment. So key. And this was after setting it up in my more old school domain space, which was Ionos, which when you look at Ionos, it's like, it's got hosting, it's got this stuff. And I don't know if it was in this session or a different session, we tried to set it up in the same place for your domains, and it's not AI native, right? So it's not as easy as Vercel is, right? So right away, like I identified the potential to transform client deliverables from static documents into interactive web applications. What do I mean by that? And by the way, here's the 3 steps, right? Claude Code, GitHub, Vercel. Prior to that conversation with Nico, I had not spent any time in any of these 3 things.
It's the magic trifecta, ladies and gentlemen. If you take nothing else away from today's show, it is to go investigate how to use Claude Code, how to do GitHub repositories and what that means of git, push, commit, all of that, and what next.js and setting up Vercel. If like YouTube, I'll shut up. Go ahead, Chris.
I mean, honestly, like if you're in Claude Code already, it will tell you exactly how to do this.
It'll walk you through it.
Yeah.
So like what I find to be the craziest thing nowadays is what you're saying right now. Like, so even if you use Claude, if you get used to Claude Code, then Claude Code Claude Desktop becomes your new best friend.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And it's
plan mode, but go ahead.
Well,
go ahead.
I mean, all right. Because like you can use those modes in Claude Desktop. There's only one that you can't, but hopefully soon they release it. And what's nice about it is that when you're using Claude for Desktop, you can add your connectors the same way you would in on the web, right? Only instead of doing it for writing or for Google Drive or whatever, you add your connector for GitHub, you add your connector for Vercel, and now you don't really even have to touch those 2 platforms either, because you just tell Claude Code.
Yeah.
So like this.
We'll get into that, I promise.
Okay.
Yeah, I have some stuff to show around that too. Anyway,
because this was back in November 9th, and some of the stuff that Nico just mentioned, not available back then. Right? So we're gonna go through this journey because that's the important piece. It's not like this has always been waiting around for us, and we just like finally got around to it.
It gets easier
unlock
every
our
2
minds,
weeks, right?
What's that?
It gets easier every 2 weeks, right? Wouldn't you guys say?
Yeah.
Maybe every 2
days.
If
that. Right.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
maybe every 2 days. It depends. It depends on how much you sit your butt down and educate yourself, over the 1 day, 2 days, or 2 weeks to the ease that it is based on the releases that you are given.
Yeah.
Yep.
And this is what I mean. And I'm going to try and get really clear on the AI native messaging and narrative. When you are thinking and coming from an AI native space, like you're willing to see what's happening and you don't question it as much.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, I see this cool thing. Claude Code, what's up with that? Should we set that up? Yeah. Okay, let's set it up. Like it's literally like seconds.
Well, hang on. Should we? Yeah. How should we? What's the best way to do the thing that you now said we could do, so that I don't head in the wrong direction with a great idea, but I get a great idea and head in the right direction?
Yes. We're going to come back to that for sure. Because there's a couple posts from yesterday where there's some key elements. Like the three of us are not fresh off the street, not ever understanding businesses and customer experience and all this stuff. Right. So, but so if you get this loop in place, or this inner structure, and you start to build like from a platform kind of mindset, whereas when I first started building the Value First Team website, it was a website strategy.
Yeah.
Right. The usual. As I started building, and what I mean when I said transforming client deliverables from static documents into interactive web applications. Here's an example. So this is a unified customer view playbook, right? And most often in the past, you might have received this as a PDF. Maybe it was an interactive PDF, right? That you could check boxes on. Likely it's just Google Sheet or something, right? That you're trying to work with your partner, or even internally tools. There's always a spreadsheet or something where people are passing back and forth because you need that interactivity to be able to check things off, do status. I would love for leaders to be in a place where you unlock this trifecta for your organization and you tell your team, you can't use PowerPoint anymore. You can't use slides. You can't use spreadsheets. Like all of this static stuff meant to be shared and collaborated on can now be easily put into this kind of experience where, it's interactive and it just feels better. Like these kinds of experiences that, clients, users, customers, they want, and they've been getting for a while in places like Amazon and like, the Fortune 500 companies, right? That have spent tons of money and have huge engineering developer departments, and like the old way, like, right, is available like for every individual now, right? And the ability to iterate, like on that session with Nico, I had implemented this, right, within that same hour. And this helped me in a way where I've been weak and could improve is like, I love talking and getting deep in strategy, but all of the content that I've done, if I didn't make something in Canva or it wasn't ready in HubSpot, I usually did not have a visual like to go with it, right? And I didn't prioritize that because it was harder work for me to do that. And I didn't want it to get in the way of just getting the content out there and helping people think through things. Well, we know that we're visual learners. We love videos, we love visuals. So being able to fill that in with content that's already been done was like massive, right? And the reason I'm excited that we're here today, and really just to like confirm, like if you take nothing away, like this three pack is just huge. But here's where it needs to go with.
Can you pause for a second? before you move on. So, because Chris has told you about the 3-pack, right? We're sitting here, we're talking about Claude Code, we're talking about GitHub, we're talking about Vercel. And one of the things that we said is like, hey, get Claude Desktop to be your assistant to maybe help you work with Claude Code and ask you questions. I want you to know there's a couple things that you're quickly going to run into, especially if you're going down this platform or website. You're going to see things like sanity.io. You're going to see things like Mux for video. You're going to see things like the database. It's eluding me. Superbase. Thank you. You're going to see things like resend. Okay. I'm saying these words because I want you to realize like it's nothing to see Claude suggest something and then be like, let me quickly learn the 20% that I need to know about getting resend set up so that Claude then encode the things that I actually am asking it to do, or Superbase to do. Like, so there's going to be these tangential things that you're going to see. Please, by all that is holy, do not get scared when you see the things that align with this 3-pack. Now, the one thing I will tell you to watch out for is Claude up until this point has been talking about Tailwind CSS. I want you to know that earlier this week, there was a big thing on the internet and YouTube. You can go check it out, where because of the way that AI is using Tailwind, now the company actually can't drive revenue. And so there's a whole revenue issue. And like, will Tailwind stick around or will Tailwind go away? So like, be careful of like just blindly going in that direction versus saying something like, you know what, can we just use vanilla CSS and jQuery and JavaScript? Like, can we keep it basic so that I'm not tied to somebody's platform? Like, so just be careful. What I'm trying to say is don't be scared of the words, but investigate the words. And Nico's raising his hand. So like, and I say this, by the way, because I literally ripped Tailwind CSS out of one of my like projects and remapped it with stuff because I wanted it to be like, anyway, go ahead, Nico.
Claude, can we create our own CSS library?
Oh, Jesus. Yes, please. Yeah. Like, but I don't think they're ready for that. Like, we're literally sitting here talking about, and here's how you get started with the trifecta, because we want to activate you. We don't want to scare you. But Nico, right. Yes.
Yeah. So we'll build this foundation. But exactly what you're talking about. So our buddy Dan Sanchez, earlier this week, like has been continuing, and he's been, I'd say fairly AI native for the last year plus, right? And he's trying to help people also make this transition. So I was excited when I saw this like first line, I'll be vibe coding all future websites, right?
Dream state. Yes, please.
But what we're going to find is vibe coding, right? Like a lot of things like can be done in just so many different ways. And this is one way, like Claude Code to GitHub to Vercel is one of those ways, right?
Yeah.
And now what he's doing here is simple HTML site that he's got a book that just went live, right?
Congrats.
And what's interesting, like, so of course, first question. All right. And now these are really smart dudes that I know.
Yeah.
And at some point, I'm surprised you guys haven't made it to Claude Code yet. Because Dan says, I finally landed on Replit after trying to make a half dozen other cheaper tools work.
Oh man.
Right. They bring somebody else into the conversation. That person says Replit is the way. And then when you want to get really complicated, you move to a combo of that and Claude Code directly.
Okay.
No.
Right?
Okay. So, I will say,
right.
I'll say this much because my wife just started doing it, right? And she has never coded anything in her life. Okay. Right now, she is redoing her company's website on her own, page by page, pretty much like it's no big deal, right? So much so, she was up until like 12:30 with me, side by side, facing her laptop, just typing away on Claude, just hey, can you update this? Hey, okay, let's get ready. Let's move on to this page. Now, I've worked with her. She's used to Claude on the web. We've gotten it to a point where it's a pseudo version of working in GitHub, where she's essentially working out of a project. All the code she generates goes back into that project. So she has this storage of it, sort of like a repo. But again, nothing can access into Claude's projects, right? So it might get to a point, at least, for now, she's comfortable with doing that. And so I was like, yeah, but all we'd really have to do is the three kings, right? We just get you, Claude on desktop, GitHub, and you just have to look at it and set up a repo, and then you don't even have to look at it anymore. And then, Vercel, I was going with Railway because it's really easy to set up databases and everything too. And then that's it. I'm like, and after a while, you don't even have to look at Git or Railway. You just have your website up and Claude up, and then you just make your changes between the two. And, sounds easy when we say it, but I gotta tell you, like, even hearing it from you guys, it's like, nah, people on the outside still find it very intimidating to make that leap. And she was using Replit too, right? So she has made the jump from Replit to like manual, where she's working in Claude and she's working in WordPress. But that I think is a little bit of a halfway point, right? If you go from Replit to your own server. So if you went from like Replit to just Claude and Vercel, let's say, or Claude and Railway, okay, now you're halfway there, right? All you gotta do is just throw in that GitHub part.
Yep.
Yeah.
And by the way, GitHub is dope because by the way, there is a world in which we live where you could lose the Vercel side of this, because there is GitHub pages. So like if you're just doing kind of what in this article, he's like, I'm just doing a static HTML, like you could literally do Claude Code to GitHub pages. FYI, watch a few tutorials on it. Not my jam. I want to go a little bit further than that, but that's where you could stop. Okay. And so like take the words that are coming out of our mouth and figure out that what it is, it's about the system that you build. And I want to go back to something, and then I'm going to shut up, Chris, so you can move forward with this story. Is like the first comment was like, what tool did you use? And I haven't had an opportunity to say this in a long time on one of these AI focused shows. It's not always about the tool, ladies and gentlemen. It's about the technique. Like the reason that we can achieve and you will achieve in the future what you can achieve is because you'll double down on technique, and the tool just happens to be something that's coming along for the ride, versus feeling like that's the thing that's making your success. No, your brain, your humanness, your technique is what will make it special.
Yeah. And that's where like we're gonna get into domain expertise as like domain expertise plus AI native mindset, I think will be the real unlock here. But even there, like this is where, again, Dan already AI native. I just tried a number of tools and got frustrated with all of them. Replit just works. Claude Code is a big deal, but I haven't seen anybody talk about a deployment stack in a way I can actually understand it to make the most of that. And honestly, that's where I was on November 8th.
Same.
Right?
Same.
Before talking to Nico.
Yeah.
And that's where like, it's really hard to watch somebody else do it and talk about it. So since then, like anybody who's willing to spend 30 minutes or an hour, it's like, let's get on, because there are random things that are going to get in the way. And if you're not there to trust and like have confidence to power through that, and honestly, just take a screenshot and give it to Claude Code and he's going to power through it for you. Those are the kinds of things that can get in the way, because most people that are not developers like really have no idea how to troubleshoot their way through this. And it can seem like a wall just got put in front of you.
Right.
But it is as simple as these three pieces that we're talking about. And so I'm imagining like Dan was like me in November 8th, where he just hadn't, like, these three simple steps is what you take to get here. So I'm definitely going to clip this up and make sure Dan sees this. I mean, that's if they don't take me up on the hour that I want to spend with them. Because right after he says,
crazy how, like, it makes you want to, right? Like,
Right.
this isn't like, and chat, I saw your chat. We're definitely going to get to it, man. This is, I mean, like, before, when we were learning just like AI tools and how to use AI tools and how to leverage AI in the best way possible, like, that was, a pretty big draw to, hey, got to teach other people how to do this, got to get other people how to do this. Once you start doing this, it's addictive.
Yeah. I was up till 2 a.m. last night.
It's
Okay.
the most addictive productivity.
Yeah.
Like, so, like, when people were asking, and this, I don't know if you guys think the same way. I honestly do. Look, they've been talking about, like, how is this going to create jobs? How is this going to do this? How's this going to do that? People are just going to sit around. They're not going to do anything anymore. And they're just going to whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I've been saying, it's like, no, it's a matter of, if you could allow people to, if you could unshackle people from having to pay bills, you would see this level of creativity just burst through the roof, because all of a sudden they don't have this worry. They can actually do what they want to. And
Yeah.
it turns out to be this cool thing, right? And to me, it's like, everybody that's touched this stuff has just lost their minds in the most productive, creative ways I've ever seen in my life, and have just like, and I get it, like, what you're saying about, like, the software titles, like, because you can do it, you shouldn't crush it out. But a lot of this stuff, it's like, look, I've got, like, I don't know, about 12 apps that I've done, but they're just for me. So, like, yeah, they're not like flight apps that I could put out there, right? But they are things where it's like, hey, this tool just does this thing. If you've been trying to solve this problem, here's the thing. And it's not beautiful and it's not blah blah blah, but it does the thing. So, like, all I wanted was push button solution, here it is. And I think there's a place for that, which, again, is not like full market, enterprise market, obviously. But I think people learning how to do this do just that. They learn how to solve problems, not only in your everyday, like, computer-based job, learn how to solve problems in real life. Like, I know two people now who, you would think to yourself, like, oh, what do I need an app for? Like, Nico, what do I care about coding? Coding's not going to help me in the real world. I know one person, my wife, who made her own GLP tracker. That's a real life thing that she does. And now she has an app that's hers, that she doesn't have to pay for, that's free, that does everything that she wants. And if it doesn't, she just asks it to do it. And then she's got the feature, right? I know another person who runs a farm, and they hate using the same software that they have to constantly in order to understand how to upgrade their tractor. And so I talked to them about ChatGPT. And I was like, hey, man, do you know about Claude? I was like, no. I was like, okay, well, GPT and Claude can work together. So if you're used to using one, it's okay. And you get the one to build up a plan for you and give it to the other one. And the other one's going to figure out how to build it for you. I was like, oh, really? I'm like, yeah.
Oh, there's so
like,
much I want to say.
Could it build my diagnostics software for my rig? Because I got to upgrade that thing all the time. And it costs me a lot of money. Let me tell you, I have heard this story. I've watched the documentaries. I know that John Deere, like, seriously fucks people as hard as possible with this type of stuff, as much as the auto industry does, right? Like, if you're a mechanic in the auto industry, you make money if you have the most updated software kits for diagnostics, right? If you want to go work at a shop, right? If you go work at Firestone, fine, turn a wrench, you can go there. But, like, if you want, like, to go work at, like, a serious shop, they want you to have this electronics diagnostics stuff that's super duper expensive. And I watched a video on TikTok of a mechanic who was holding his phone up to the car with ChatGPT on, and he's like, "Hey, how do I change this oil filter? It's like, oh, you do this, you get this thing and you turn it this way or whatever. It's like, oh, okay, cool. I got to put this bolt back on. Like how much, whatever it was he was using.
Torques per pound or whatever. Torque. Yeah.
And it's like, how much do I have to go? It was like, oh, you need to go this amount, set the torque wrench and did it, no problem. Like I can't wait to see what that looks like at large scale.
Yeah.
Right.
And what we're getting to is like in response to the why would I need that? Like, I love the way the Moonshot guys say it. Like, there will be one profession moving forward, and it's entrepreneur.
Yep.
Right. And if you can get your mind there, then an individual personalized tech stack that you built and supports you in whatever you're trying to be an entrepreneur in makes 100% sense. And that's where like the confidence and conviction of that is so important. Because look at this statement here, right? Replit is the easiest to use, but I still find it occasionally gets stuck on a simple thing. I know enough about some of the code. Okay, most people, like 98% of people, cannot say that, right? So the fix that he's describing here, like that's a last mile gap for most people. And he suggests that here, right? That would be a challenge for you. Then again, it might still be worth it. We got to stop hedging, folks. That's where when I get on the call with them, it for damn sure is worth it for you to learn and add this capability, right? Yep. So getting over like what does more complex even mean when you have Claude Code as a full stack developer, right, next to you, right?
Can I unpack a couple things?
Yeah.
Okay. Because you guys have said a lot, and my brain is about to freaking explode if I don't say something. So one, there's this thing that we all deal with. It's tech bloat. We spend a lot of money for a software that we need 20% of. Okay. Avoma, HubSpot, list them all. I want to add another piece of the tech stack to the three that you mentioned, because you mentioned like Claude Code and GitHub and Vercel. Nico, I know you built your own version of this. I didn't want to take the time to do that, but I got Whisperflow. I would tell you to add Whisperflow so that you can talk to Terminal, so that you can talk to Claude, so that it's less about prompting and more about communicating. Because once you've done all the context engineering that needs to be done, it can just be a conversation. It doesn't have to feel technical. Okay. So Whisperflow, add that into the other three things that we said to really make it like a smooth thing. But you can build this pieces of software for you so you don't have tech bloat. You literally have built the things that you need to do the things that you need to do. The other side of this that I want us to kind of stop and think about is like the ability to say things or do things that you never thought you could say or do. So for instance, Nico, when you were talking about the ChatGPT and the oil thing and like last night, right? I said I was up till 2 a.m. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me just set a precedent here. I'm the old fart of this group, and my wife knows at 10:15, I am headed up and I'm going to bed. Good night. It's over. Last night, I was up till 2 o'clock in the morning because it was so cool. Not that I was burning the midnight hour out of hustle. I was being creative out of passion. And there is a massive difference of creating things out of passion for purpose than just hustle and grind, right? So I'm not saying this is hustle grind culture. I'm saying you get so excited about the things that you're building. I would have never fathomed these words coming out of my mouth, but I built this resource center for this new site that's an old site that I wanted it to look better. And after I got this thing built, I said, hey, is there a way we can set up a cron job to run Sunday nights at midnight? So you just look at all of these places where I create content and you absorb it into this resource center we just built. And it said, sure, let me go ahead and build that cron job for you. And I just giggled. because the fact that I even knew that that was a possibility through the last 60, 90 days journey and could set it in place and know that it would work was amazing. Here's the other piece that I have to unpack is I have a buddy who he really gave me my shot in like agency life. He's a creative director. And I showed him some things that I was working on. He's like, dude, how are you doing all this? I'm like, bro, I can teach you. And he's like, yeah, that'd be cool. And I'm like, anytime. EJ, I said anytime. And we have yet to meet. But I know this dude is so talented from a design perspective. If I could just give him the unlock, like the amazing, beautiful stuff that he could create if he would just unlock and then build a system to activate himself to be able to like execute on his dreams for him and his clients. Like, and so for me, that's like a piece that I'm loving is like, I finally got to this point. Like, when did I start teaching HubSpot? When I felt like I knew enough about HubSpot to teach it. I've been real quiet for the last 2 years and I've just been plugging away like a mad scientist in the background, like figuring things out. And now I'm starting to get focused and vocal on this AI journey because I feel like I've learned enough and unlocked enough that I'm like, yeah, there's enough humans that haven't gotten this far that I just need to start talking and teaching because it isn't as difficult as I once thought it was. And so like, if you're sitting there and you're like, I don't know where to get started, it's like a phone call. It's a Zoom call. It's a reaching out and asking a human or your Claude assistant, but a human that's willing to show you and teach you. Like, yeah, I'll show you how to do it. Anyway, okay, now I'm done. Chris, continue where you're trying to head to.
And that's where like the unlock, you feel it right away. Like, and that's why I say it's wild. Never felt so powerful before. Like once you have that feeling, like humans they're going to want more of it. Like you just keep, and there's a way for this, like anything, like the dopamine path could be not so great, or you could unlock more value than you've ever have in your life, right? For the humans, yourself and the humans around you, right? Which is what we're trying to help you do here. And there's a key element of like, once you realize it's not just an app, it's not just a tool, it's not just a website. For me, once I realized that GitHub can be a documentation, planning, and strategy source of truth that AI helps me maintain, this unbelievable foundation builds and builds where every idea that comes up, I know I'm minutes away from adding it to this space and having it be published, interactive, personalized, all these things that we've known for years we need to do to support great customer experiences and actually add value instead of trying to take, right? It's easier than ever once you kind of see this vision in this way. And that's the part, like the ability to understand customer experience and like what's valuable versus what's not, right? That's where the domain expertise that comes in. And Nick Sackett's yesterday, there's an implication to everyone being able to code that isn't getting talked about: product management. If anyone can build anything, what's to stop organizations from devolving into a build, deploy, abandon frenzy? We talked about that earlier. Like if there can be AI slop with documentation and articles.
That was in the green room, so they have no idea what you're talking about. But yeah,
I don't think I need to say more than that. But there can be AI slop with apps and software, and all the stuff that we're talking about is so easy to build, right? So this is important to note. What if they use them to scale bad behaviors? Because it's absolutely going to happen. It's already happening. And the hard part is thinking, like, it's easy to look at this and say, oh man, I don't have any product management experience.
Learn it.
That's going to be a gap. I need to go find somebody with product management experience, and then I'll be able to do it the right way.
Become it.
Right. And
like my
that's
goal,
our-
my goal for 2026, just so everybody knows, like I want to be a design and product engineer at the end of 2026. Design and product engineer. Engineer. When have I ever thought about putting that in my title? Never. All right, I'll shut up, Chris. Go ahead.
Right. And I'll say like fair. I don't. Here's what I want to focus on. And my response here, kind of in jest, but then as I'm doing it in jest, I'm like, all right, I'm going to use it. I'm going to actually do what I'm saying here. Right. So copy and paste Nick's post and say, hey, Claude, please check out this post from Nick Zeckets. Do you think we need a product management agent? If so, alter think the hell out of the planning and strategy docs in the repo in GitHub, and let's build an agent, right? Deep domain expertise
or skill,
right?
Interesting.
Is the requirement. So deep domain expertise, this understanding of how AI works, and like critical thinking skills. If you have those three, AI, Claude Code will help you fill in any gaps, because that's the context it needs to figure out the difference between this is a good idea versus a bad idea. We should do this right now versus we should do this later, or we should not do it at all, right? Because the response to this was understandable from like a bunch of smart people saying smart things, and they have this domain expertise when it comes to product management, which is always where the pushback's coming from, right? And so not talking about full replacement. I mean, I kind of am with the specific domain expertise that you may not have. Just know that you can't show up to this without any domain expertise and expect AI to just solve like all of the gaps.
Okay, right? Can I jump in here real quick? I'm going to try to do this without getting nerdy as all get out, but I have to express or explain part of a process that I've been through. And again, watch a lot of videos, deep diving in learning this stuff, trying to like make this like a superpower moving forward, because I feel like I've never felt like so passionate about something except for HubSpot in 2012. Right? Like this is important. Invest time, educate, implement, execute, activate, all these things. So Chris, here's the thing. Like you just have to know, like one of the things that I've said as I taught people HubSpot is I don't need to know all the answers. I need to be able to find where to find the answers. So take that mindset and realize that you can go to Claude and you can say, Claude, here's the thing. I want you to research the top 10 award-winning digital designers of the last 5 years. And I want you to look at the philosophies that make their design award winning. And I want you to turn that into a skill, please. Claude, I want you to actually look at my website and I want you to create a skill that is our voice and tone and our brand colors and all that, and create that skill. And Claude, you know what? I want you to research what a content strategist and dope ghostwriter is. And I want you to like do deep research. And now I want you to create that skill. And so now all of a sudden I realize I'm working on a project, and what have I done? I've created a skill for a content strategist, a skill for a ghostwriter, a skill for a front-end designer, a skill for like, you see what I'm like, we've talked about T-shaped marketers. Build an effing T-shaped AI strategy, because now it knows the things. Now here's where this project management piece gets into play. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have not researched Ralph yet, I would want to send you in the direction to search Claude Code Ralph, because the fact that you can have all these skills and then you can create a PRD, which then does this like project management journey story system that you can then say, okay, here's the task that I want to do. I want to create a PRD for it. Let's work together. By the way, I'm in plan mode. Blah, 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 blah. I give it all the information and it creates this thing. It turns this thing into a JSON file. And then all of a sudden it starts this loop and it starts creating these and finishing these journey stories. ladies and gentlemen, I launched a site in one day, but that's because the first thing that I did, I have a historical digital footprint on the internet. Let's just say that. I did a PRD with Ralph and said, hey, I want you to go research all the information you can find in the last 10 years on George B. Thomas, any podcasts he's been on, any content he's created, and just create a context system of information so that we can then turn around and use that. I hit enter and I went and watched a football game. And I came back and Claude had created the George B. Thomas context engine, to which then we could start to build a project based on. Like, it was the project manager of a certain section of a thing that I wanted to create. And you can create multiple PRDs along the way. And this literally will do the work while you sleep, or while you're meeting with a client, or while you're watching a football game. Like, skills, agents, like, you've got Ralph.
So like, it's interesting because I trust me when I say not first, because I've already seen 2 companies launch with exactly what it is that I'm doing. I'm just doing it on a small scale. And it's like the next step. That's why I'm like, this is too funny to me. So I know this one's going to go like whatever, too far into the macro, whatever you want to call it. But Chris started it. You took it to the next level. I might as well. So if you know about Ralph, that's awesome. Let's go one step further. If, what we've been doing this whole time is like, we were in like web, then we came to desktop, now we're kind of in IDE land, right? Like, you can install Ralph on Claude desktop. It's not quite as fun, but it could live there. It's really more like, it's very much a really nice IDE tool. And then there's at least that I managed to like stumble across. I don't know that, I'm sure it has been there for quite some time because the installs on it are ridiculous. But what I came across, which was very much like, actually, I would say it's like Ralph, only it's way more, is Claude Code inside like either VS or inside Visual Studio or Anti-Gravity. There's an additional plugin that you can get for Claude Code that actually unlocks, actually in Anti-Gravity, it's a setting that you can unlock through Anti-Gravity settings. In Visual Studio, it is a add-on that you can apply to Claude Code. In both cases, basically unlocks a mode that's called bypass permissions. And that is very much like set it and forget it. However, I highly suggest that there are sections when you are installing this where you can add limitations. Take the time to add the limitations. Won't scare you at all after that, right? Like, you can put rules in there like, don't touch system files, or like, stuff's read only, and this stuff you can't edit, this stuff you can't. If you keep a nice organized repo, you can just say you're only allowed to work in this workspace, right? It could be that simple, and then all of a sudden guardrails are up to the workspace. So that's just and I only say that to say that, like, that's the CLI, or that's not even, it's like the IDE version of it. The only reason I bring it up is because what George is talking about is definitely crucial to what you're doing, like both the plan aspect of things, but also having like an assistant that can like help you work through all this stuff, right? What I find to be, and especially with the skills, right? Like adding the multiple skills. What I find to be a bit more effective and have started doing recently is essentially going back to my first tenet, right? Like treating AI as a person. So, like, skills are awesome. And working in the regular platform is awesome. But I have actually come to spend quite a lot of like just a huge amount of time in the CLI lately and like the IDE. And even Claude Desktop, because it can also leverage these things. And the reason why is because like you have those skills, basically I've developed a system of agents. And these agents have these basically abilities, and they trigger at different times. They're definitely workflow based for the time being. I get into it, but we don't have enough time. So they base, it's based on sometimes, hey, if this thing is about to get committed, or if this thing has been committed, or if this thing's been staged, or if this file ever gets touched, or if something got committed, but this file wasn't touched before it got committed. And so there are people in there, like there's an architect whose job it is to maintain what the app looks like at all times. So anytime that there's a change, the architect goes in, looks at what was changed, goes back to his blueprint, updates his blueprint. There is a custodian who makes sure that the code base stays clean and that we don't have dirty code lying around, unused code, broken functions, stuff that shouldn't be there. There is a developer. There is a senior developer. There is a software engineer, and pretty much anybody else that I need when it comes to like building, depending on what the app is, right? And to your point about like building up a context of George, I would have just built a George. And the George would trigger at some time to go look at George's content and go look at what George wrote and what George has done, and make sure it's George enough.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what we're getting to is, at least this is making sense to me, like the context, there's like strategic context management and setup and understanding of, and then there's like functional context management, success, all that stuff. Like humans have to find ways to not have to do the functional stuff. Like that's the part that AI should be doing for you. It doesn't mean AI doesn't need the help with the strategic, nuanced, like contextual minute to minute understanding of what's happening in the real, in the physical world and the digital world and how that comes together. Like the creativity of our brains, like is what supports that level. And it's super important, or else you can like functionally success your way in any direction you want, but whether or not it's going to create value, like the strategic context has to come from somewhere, right? And so quickly we get to like a concern about replacement, right? Whether it's you feeling like you're replacing yourself or just humans in general and everything in between. Like I've seen people find ways to like feel guilty about that, to not like, it's not replacement. Like in as soon as that wall goes up, it's like, oh, I can't move forward then. Like I shouldn't do it that way. I can't do it that way. All these things, right? And what I'm working on articulating, couldn't do it in time to respond to this post, but like it's easy to come at it from the SaaS tool, like software functional perspective, right? The need, example, cost, or speed to write code has always been a success limiter, but code has never been the reason for success, right? Which is fair, but the same thing should be able to be said from the other direction. All these people who have relied on code, or somebody who can do the code, to do the development, to get to the amazing website to where people will actually consume all the strategic knowledge and understanding of a George B. Thomas. Like if the code didn't get done, you might not get through with that. So it goes both ways. And as soon as you think that there's replacement in any aspect, like you start to like pull back. People start to think like, oh, I really need that expertise, right, to be able to do this thing. And that's where Nick says he thinks a lot. And like, this is fair in that understanding the business needs, those of its customers, internal and external, can rarely simply be fed by existing content, call notes, meeting recaps. There's also the question of vision versus feature iteration. Vision is a place where LLMs don't do a great job. Humans do, right? So the point, anybody in the organization can have vision as it relates to whatever you're trying to accomplish. And that is certainly the important part here. But it doesn't mean the product has to come from the product management person or any of these individualized things, right? So as long as you have collaboration, like with vision and domain expertise, right? I believe you can fill in any gap with the help of AI, because anything presented to you by whatever best practices are, you can digest through these filters of your domain expertise, your vision, your critical thinking skills, to just go with your gut. Now we're back to vibe coding. This is what it means. Like, does that make sense or not? Right? What just came back, does that make sense? And if no, you talk through it. You do, right? So, and as I was doing this, right, as I've been building this, I was thankful here that like somebody came in and was like, yeah, I built that. I'm like, cool. Like, I knew there's somebody out there.
Right.
Right. And of course, it's more likely to come from the product management people of the world. But what if they can do it? Like, there's a way to help AI research that thing and see how other people are doing it. And all of a sudden, you have any expertise you want joining your team, as Nico was describing. Right. And so, and that's what the unlock, again, just asking to fill that gap is step number one, and not worrying about what it's going to be filled in with. Should I ask a human versus AI, right? Because this is what happened to me. So here's, and this is, I'm trying to make as much of this available like on the Value First Team website as possible. So /tech stack here, right? All the things that I've ended up building in, being an expert. Like, if you look at 32 technologies, right? It's only possible because Claude Code is managing like all of it, right? And of this group, I may be an expert in HubSpot, like, and that's it, right? Another page, like all the agents, specialized autonomous workers. This is on my AI collaborators page, right? Where I'm trying to make it easy to understand, like, you can build all this stuff. And I didn't even have the ideas for all of this stuff until I worked with Claude. And here's exactly how that conversation went. And what I want you to take away is the hard part is the documentation, the strategy, the stuff you know, and not the how, right? The how in terms of technology. That's always been the gate, right? So I'm in the middle, and you can see this like little itty bitty scroll bar over here of this long conversation, right? Can you develop this into a comprehensive handoff prompt so Claude Code can fill in the real-time gaps of the tech stack, and then build an interactive page on the website to display our tech stack for all to learn from, right? So this is me trying to document the tech stack and then share it, right? So here, right? And this is like the part that's hard to explain, is that as you continue to learn and build some more, and then learn some more, and then, right, you keep on being presented with, oh yeah, that's probably the old way I'm supposed to be doing it. And what happened here is, let's see, there was, like, as a part of the stack, I think I took it out. I've been working with another company to build an avatar, right, for the site, an animated avatar. And every time, like, I kept being exposed to that being a piece that I could not move forward myself because I'm working with this other company. So as I'm going through this process, and this is what I think most humans naturally are, like, if you're in this motion, right, this is where it's like, don't limit. Like, the only reason you don't do this is because you find excuses to say, oh, I'm replacing this, or, oh, I don't know how to do that, or like any reason, right? So as you keep being exposed to these spots that you know are highly valuable, but you can't do yourself for whatever reason, it begs the question, can we do that? Can I do it at some point, right? So an interesting question came to mind just now. How hard would it be to recreate the Coach Chris avatar on our own without needing to rely on a third party? It feels like a great repo with agents, skills, and tech stack thoroughly integrated with HubSpot lets us do just about anything. Claude says, this is a great question. Let me break down what an avatar actually requires versus what you already have. It requires a brain, generates intelligent responses. Do you have it? Yep. Claude API plus methodology knowledge. Knowledge, what Coach Chris knows. Yes, all these golden path question and answer, sanity content, 635 episodes. Yep, check that box. Personalization, customer specific context, HubSpot integration, done already. What do we need? A voice and a visual. Where's it going to live? Portal, website, embeddable, already got that. And this line continues to stick with me, right? The hard parts, brain, knowledge, personalization, already built. What's
Well,
missing?
kind of.
What's missing is tech, right? And that's the part where even there, like, if you think it's going to cost a lot of money, break it down. Like, how much is it really going to cost? And how hard? As soon as you know it's a tech flag and not a human, like, anything is possible, right? And that's why we're asking you to move from, oh, that's tech, that's development, that's software, and I don't have expertise there, so it's not available to me. Like, away from that, because I'd never asked about this. And all of a sudden in 30 minutes, because guess what we did after this? Here's the architecture. It's like explaining the whole thing of how this is going to work, right? Including some code, right? Cost comparisons. Which one do we want to use? Bottom line, yes, you can absolutely build this yourself. The hard parts are already done. The audio-visual layer is commoditized now, right? Here's all the options. I say, of course, I cannot resist your value, my friend. Yes, please spec this out.
See, now when I see that, first of all, this is freaking amazing. When I see that, my brain goes to another level because, and I think it's this journey with like creating a clone with Delphi and understanding how realistic it can be and how a human thinks on their feet. And so like, is content brain? Content is part of brain. And so literally I was sitting down yesterday and I did a YouTube search of like, how do you create a second brain that interacts like a human brain? And I watched this like 45-minute video of this guy talking about like these 4 to 5 functions of a brain and what's the digital version of that. And so like content is a part of the brain, but then it's like, if it's going to be a digital Chris, it's like, well, what's the mindsets, the beliefs, the core values? Like, what's the never do this or always do that? Like, it's the systems and structures that layer around, right? For humans, it's like the environment and all the stuff that we want to talk about in psychology. So like now I would say, yeah, the hard part, creating all the content, but that's like, I would want to go the smaller second level of like, now how do we make this brain more human, less just a digital SQL database of information? You see what I'm saying? But dude, I love this. And it's funny how you and I, without knowing it, are journeying down some of the same paths on things, or at least thinking of things to be able to potentially poke or not with what we're doing.
Yeah. And I would agree that I think that small second layer you describing is the hard part. That is the last mile with a lot of this stuff, right? To go from functional success to strategic success.
Yeah.
And that's where what anybody has learned in software is when that has to be done with a third party, infinitely harder to get done with any kind of pace, because there's back and forth. Like imagine any revision process in a creative project you've ever went through where you could not do the captions yourself of the video. You're like, no, that's spelled wrong. Like, I know it sounds small. We got to change it. Like the difference between this acronym and this acronym will get us in trouble. And yet, of course, you don't know that. You don't have our domain expertise. So we got to go back and forth, and we got to meet all these times, right? As like when you bring it in to your own space and you believe that you can get this done, exactly what George is describing is what now I can learn, because I didn't ask for this avatar until after I'd already saw V1 like from the company that I'm working with.
Yep.
And it looked great, sounded great, but like George was saying, it was not a lot of personality there. It was like Q&A. Like I gave them a bunch of Q&As, right? Without a lot of personality. So that's how the conversation sounded, right? And so but since now it's over here, and I'm not going to stop working with this company, by the way, but now I'm in a much better position to get to like highly valuable stuff way faster, because I'm learning what it's going to take to actually add that piece in and know that when I'm doing it here, right? So this is where we've gotten to. And I click my HubSpot is a mess, data everywhere. No one trusts reports, right? When I first did this, I first set this up based on the spec that was just described. I didn't even get this text answer. I just got all the resources that would answer the question, right? So imagine asking for help via email and somebody sends you just links back with no context, right? I know that's never happened to anybody, but like that's the point of, this is conversational. We need to actually have a damn conversation. And in a conversation, I would never not open my mouth and just give you PDFs like for you to figure out like what they're for. Right. We're having a conversation. So you have to like have the conversational pieces. Yeah. Right. And the more it's robotic, the more it's going to turn somebody off. So this would have been so hard, much harder for me to start to understand if I'm having to like wait for the Monday meeting when I meet with the third party, instead of being able to do it right now when it's fresh. And I do it the first time and I'm like, oh shit, that's not gonna work. Claude Code screenshot. We got to fix this. And then
they answered Chad and Alex. It's a thing where if you want to pace yourself into it, and like which I basically is like cost, right? So if you want to like pace yourself into it via cost, then what I would do is look, Claude Code is on top of Opus, right? Also has Sonnet, but what's the big difference then between using Opus and Claude Code? One is pretty much almost like a small language model, like it's only tuned for coding. It's not really meant to go philosophize with and that kind of stuff. With Opus 4.5, it's you just have a very, very skilled coder that's very strong, right? If you use like an IDE or you use like Copilot or something like that, then you do get one that's a bit more constrained because you can like add some characters to it basically, or characteristics to it that make it more constrained and more of a coding agent. I would start with anti-gravity really, and like just start with, because all the tools there are free, and that lets you like test drive Opus and get a feeling for like how much more useful that is over whatever you might default with. And then when you get, realistically in my mind, when you get to a point where you feel even remotely efficient with how you build what you're building, then I would like look at doing a max, Claude Max subscription. $100 a month is not easy for everybody to swing. But when you get to the level that we're at, you absolutely need it. Like you're building out like whole like multiple applications into a website, into like all this stuff, right? That's not just like your average little, hey, make this thing that injects properties into HubSpot, right? Like you can do that with Gamma, or you can do that, or not with Gamma, you can do that with Gemini. You don't even need to use anti-gravity to do that, right?
Yeah.
And then, do you think you can build a Delphi? All I can tell you is go to Claude. You don't even have to go to Claude Code. You don't even have to tell it what Delphi is. You just tell Claude, hey, if I had an 11 Labs subscription or, GPT Whisper or something, could we build a chatbot that I can just talk to, that has like a ton of memory? We hook up to a database and it has a bunch of memory. Off you go.
Yeah.
Take some time, learn about vector databases versus SQL databases, or figure it all out. Like,
honestly,
yeah,
that's where,
as you go along, it'll probably make the suggestions, right? Like,
right.
Yep.
So that's the thing, is like jump into plan mode, because like I really want people to see like why that is so like very effective, because a lot of the stuff that we talk about in terms of what you're going to be building and what you're going to be doing, and whether you should do this, whether you should do that, and a lot of what George was talking about, at the end of the day, you guys really need to understand that, like, for the developers who were like, oh, all you're going to do is design a bunch of slop and we're going to have to come in and clean it up, so we're going to be more important than ever. Okay, that would be true, but this is being designed by software engineers, and they want to have an equally powerful, if not greater, software engineer as a partner. So they aren't developing it to be bad, right? The guy who built Claude Code at this point has not coded anything by hand for 30 days or more. And Claude Code has made a perfect copy of itself. That's how good it was, right? So the next iteration is what I used to call dunzo, meaning there's no argument anymore in terms of, is it better, could it do better, blah, 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 right? What plan mode is, like, the reason that's so awesome and so very, like, that just brings it to the doorstep, because of the fact that, yeah, you're going to have, it basically builds out a PRD for you based on the conversation you're having. And then even as you're going along, it starts asking you these very like light but serious questions. It'll be like, hey, so how do you want to handle the login? Do you want to do this, or this other thing? Or do you have your own thing in mind? And it'll even give you like, hey, this is the recommended thing. Here's why it's recommended. So you, honestly, I don't know what else to tell you, but like you will learn a lot about coding and learn a lot about like programming and stuff without actually, it's not even a matter of like want to or something. Like, again, you're going to be so enthralled in this stuff
It's
But
it's. Can I say something, Nico? Because what
Yeah.
we've done for centuries is we've learned to do, and now we're doing to learn. Okay. I
Yes.
just want everybody to understand that we're doing to learn. So for instance, like if you're like me and I got to a point where I actually had to pass off my code to a developer and was like, oh man, it's like being caught with my pants down and stuff. Like, oh God, no. Then that's fine. Go to Claude plugin, install code dash simplifier. And it actually like simplifies and cleans up the code when you run the slash command because you've added that plugin to your code. And so now you do all the things that you want to do, and then you just like clean the code and then hand it off to a developer so you don't look like a jackbutt. Like that's the thing. Like the things are in there. Like you can do a slash command for security. You can do a slash command for cleanup. You can do a slash command for like whatever you think you can't do. There is a plugin or something has been built or can be built, skill, agent, plugin, whatever, that will allow you to do the thing that you know you need to do, and it just knows how to do it.
Yeah. And again, it comes back to mindset here. And like when you think you don't know what every human knows is what they like and they don't like. Right. And since this is all software and digital, and we've been experiencing apps and platforms and browsers and for years now, when you're thinking like, so if let's say we're in a B2B agency context and you're hearing and it's making sense to you that you have to find conversational approaches to doing all the things you used to do where you had a website up, somebody's got to fill out the form without you, and that's how you convert people, and that's how they start their journey. Meanwhile, you're seeing on LinkedIn and even at in-person events, like the best way to move forward with somebody is to get into the conversation, right?
Right.
And so all the software you've had, and LLMs have already built it. So people are liking that experience. And you don't need to do market research to figure out that people are really liking that experience. So the gap becomes like, how are you going to build that experience out for people? And the moment it's just, oh, this is a website and let me get customer agent up and now I'll plaster that on the website. Like it's not the same, right? As soon as you start thinking of your website as like a software platform that could create these experiences, this is how you can very quickly get to the what I'm showing you here, in that like I'm considering like making this like the homepage experience where it's like maybe choose your own adventure. Do you want a traditional website or do you want to just talk about stuff? Right. But because it's all in the same place, right? Related resources, because all this stuff was built. Oh, it's just a fly out, right? I don't have to go to a separate web page,
Right.
right? I get to stay in this experience. Oh, here's a course that's already available, right? Inside of here, like assessments, everything that you would expect to see on a website, I can get to like right from here. And all this took is like, here's history. A lot of this was like, hey, Claude, build it out exactly how you work,
Right.
right? Like chats on the left, canvas coming in from the right. Except instead of creating, we're just going to pull in pages that are already available, right? And with that, like if you can switch to this mindset, like this is available to anybody. And if you already have this, that's the thing, like most of you already have content. You already have this stuff, and it's not creation of new content. It's creation of new paths to get to that content, right? And so that's where I'll like end my, even show you the 404s too. So it's just, and that's where I think, Nico, and I've been wanting to ask you about this, like because what's behind this is, what Claude was saying, like all the episodes, all the content, the Sanity database, the CMS, HubSpot as a database, right? If I want it to feel like a conversation with me, am I building is this where small language models, is that basically what is the thing that is needed to support this specific experience?
So you can do it a few different ways, right? Like one of the things that really helped me, and I think helped you out the same way, is like understanding. I had this conversation with Ryan Ginsberg because he was trying to understand the same thing. Like agents, what are they? What, because it's like you see that there's agent software and you seemingly need agent software to build agents, and then it sounds like they're a different thing than everything else, almost like they're whatever, this autonomous, like a whole separate thing, standalone thing, right? It's not regular software. No, it's just regular software, right? Like at the end of the day, like code is code. So whatever software you're using was created by code. If it was created by code, then something else can recreate it. It's that simple, right? That being the case, for me anyway, which I was already trying to do this with other platforms, and now that I've started doing Claude agents and OpenAI agents, it's a very different game altogether. So my whole thing now is just orchestration. So if you are building any type of resource, it's basically that you're doing it in layers. So like when Harry launches, should be this week. um, when you make a query, the initial agent basically, or like you're basically talking to the librarian, and the librarian then determines what section of the library your query belongs to, and goes and hands it off to like that librarian who works in that particular section. So like a sub librarian who specializes in that. And then the sub librarian, depending on how difficult the question may be. So if you ask an API question, well, then we have a librarian for every section of the API because those are difficult subjects. And maybe you're asking about CMS, or maybe you're asking about UI, or maybe you're asking about whatever. So this sub librarian passes it down to the tertiary librarian, who then goes to the subject matter, grabs the card of information, passes it on back up the chain, and the top librarian gives you the answer. So that's, my whole thing now is just orchestration. Everything has its own org to it. And you're essentially always interacting with an orchestrator. And anytime that I need detailed information of some type, I just hire another agent and put them in place of and in charge of whatever that is.
And I'm going to do one more round of show and tell, and then George will be able to get in on this.
Nice.
Like it literally, what Nico just said, it's the capability that every organization, every individual needs to add this year, like as soon as possible. AI native, AI orchestration. And that's where I think if you can get into an AI native mindset, think of digital native when we first started saying that. Digital native, I don't know if there's a bunch of great examples, but when cell phones first came out, right?
We can go before that, brother. See, I'm old
I know,
enough.
right?
I am freaking old enough. I am pre-internet.
Right.
So I had to become a digital native when it hit the scene. And yes, Chris, then go into your cell phones, because that's the second version of digital native on the go, right? But yeah.
Right. If you remember what it was like before a cell phone, right? And that you would have an idea and you'd want to tell somebody, and you'd have to wait until you saw them next. maybe you can give them a call, but like text messages as an example, right? You go to that first versus like giving somebody a call. Like AI native, getting yourself into that space like allows for thinking of AI orchestration first. And a good example is, especially when it comes to using systems like HubSpot or Claude Code, it's like Claude Code will help you write some good emails, some better emails if you ask it to. But how about we just don't write any emails for some of the use cases that we've relied on email for, because it doesn't make sense and people don't like it and people hit the spam button and they're trying to have a conversation and conversations don't work via email because it's asynchronous. It's not built for live active conversation, which takes people to LinkedIn, DMs, and Slack, right?
Mm-hmm.
So don't ask emails, ask for better emails that are trying to have conversations when you could be just asking it to set up these other like motions for you, right? And all of this, as you build this up, the last two examples I'm going to show are one of the most recent functionality and feature sets I've built into this platform is the ability to do like presentations, these slide decks, right? Guess what you're not going to get? Like PowerPoint downloads when you click on this button. So we've got a bunch of presentations, and let's see, 4 unified views. Oh, like this whole format, right, came from, I want to build a presentation that lives on the website that I can screen share and works like slides. And like, and here it is. And now it becomes shareable. And guess what? And behind the scenes, I'm building in like trackability to see if people are consuming it and all the things that you'd have to use all these different like systems for to connect all these different systems. And how new is gamma.app to where I've really enjoyed it. But this prompt started with, hey, Claude, can I have a prompt to build this in GAMP? Wait a second.
Wait, can you give me
this
to build Gamma
like on our website? Can I just like, here's the content that already exists. Like, can we just add the presentation there? And by the way, I'm giving Claude the context of, I was going to ask for this Gamma thing.
Yep.
Which is all the context he needs to know what I'm trying to accomplish. And he's like, oh yeah, it's going to have this and it's going to have this and it's going to have this. Now that's where, if you don't know best practices about PowerPoint and like how to present to people, which is something I just fixed over the past couple of days, like this text was not that big. Like it was building it based on old, like the styles of the rest of the website. So the text was a lot smaller. It was harder to read. He wasn't using the real estate, right? And like all of the gaps that we let get in the way because there's so much functionality that needs to be set up that now AI can handle for you. The other thing here, like watch live streams, right? Built into the website. I used to pay $30,000 a year to Vidyard to be able to do this. I think this specific add-on was $8,000 by itself, right? And you know what? Still not working like the way I wanted to with this YouTube chat.
You'll get
but now
there.
I'm getting to test it, and I figure out very quickly a piece of the puzzle that I did not, like, I don't know what it even needs to do this effectively. So I just said, set this up, right? As I open this, it's a 404 and it's not showing up because this is not my channel, right? This is not the channel we're on.
Right.
So now I just have to be like, oh, hey, Claude, like that's not the right URL. Here's the right URL. And then bam, done. And as this, like, because this motion is set up, again, bringing it into the platform, the ability to repurpose, because it's coming into my domain and it's not on YouTube and it's not in StreamYard, or LinkedIn, because it's coming over here, this thing happens where I didn't build this page. I didn't connect it to the recording on YouTube. This is George and I from Friday.
Yeah. Yep.
Automatically set up as a recorded on-demand episode. The other kinks that I'm working out is that there's going to be a transcript here. Like there's a transcript that already exists in the back end. I just got to ask like the best way to put it on the page, right? And then like connecting this to full circle of the catalyst, right? Because that stuff is automatically happening, that allows for this stuff to always be relevant and contextual so that you can match the speed. So when somebody comes and asks a question, you just did content yesterday, like the timing and the relevance of what you're working so hard to do to make sure you're keeping up. Now all the tools around you, all the platform around you can keep up right with you. Like I don't have to maintain that, right? Because if I do have to maintain it, it's not going to work.
Yeah. Or
right?
get done.
And like, all right, I've had lots of my fill. And this is again, November 9th.
Yeah.
Is when I started.
Yeah.
Right.
I must have been after that then.
You were November 22nd.
November 22nd. Yeah.
Right.
It's crazy to think about. Like the amount of things, again, I go into, well, actually, let me back up. Because Chris, when I hear you showing the live stream, when I see you automating the creation of content, when I see the slide presentation, what I hope everybody understands, it's like, oh, it's a practice what we preach principle, meaning if we're going to be value first, then we have to build systems that get value first at first rate speed, right? And so like I go live, all of a sudden anybody else can go and get this value that we created it to give to the world. And the presentation, like imagine you're giving a presentation to somebody and all of a sudden they see you navigate to the website. You hit presentation, you open that presentation, meaning you've given that presentation before. So you're not a newbie, like you're an expert and you've got expert tools that actually are now aligned to your brand. Like like, here's the thing. The amount of times I've got on a call with somebody and they're like, dang, bro, you're set up. Now you're dang, bro, you're digital setup. Like, you know what I mean? I don't have to go to Gamma or I don't have to go to Microsoft. I go to value first. I show you the presentation. Then I go over to the place where I had live streams and I give you a link to like the thing that you need to watch after I just gave you the presentation. And now all of a sudden people were like, wow, that's an experience. And again, we live in a world where we can create these dope experiences. So I'm going to try to do this in a way that is somewhat quick, but I do want to share some stuff that has been fun along the way that I think people need to understand and will maybe be a little bit of an unlock. So Chris, if you can share my screen. So I'm showing you this because Friday, by the way, notice this is a preview link with the Sidekick Strategies URL because it's no longer live, but I wanted to be able to show it. Friday, if you came to the George B. Thomas website, this is what you would see. This is the About page. Everybody loved my About page because it just was heartfelt and it like told a story. But it's very like, these are George's handcuffs when he's using HubSpot and the clean theme, and he's like, he got barely any time because he's helping clients, but he does his best to get the thing out to the world. So Friday, this is the website. Okay. Yesterday, I just started putting the hammer down. By the way, I hit 52% of my weekly Claude usage, and I pay for the $200 a month account. So that'll tell you how much I was hammering away at this. But now you wake up, or I go to bed at 2:00 in the morning because I couldn't put it away. I knew there was still some bugs that I wanted to squash and things I wanted to fix, which, by the way, I've been doing, or my assistant has been doing while I've been on the show, is like being part of this and listening and talking and getting some things done. But now you go to George B. Thomas, and this is the experience, right? And so when in the history of George, has he ever been able to do like a moving logo because he wanted people to realize it's about movement, it's about action, it's about execution, it's about engagement, it's about being a catalyst. I'm being a catalyst for growth, right? And it's clean and it's modern, and it like tells a story of like me as George B. Thomas, above like umbrella or beside sidekick strategies, superhuman framework, spiritual side of leadership. So it's like, how do I let the world know I'm the guy that happens to be part of like this 3-tiered dragon that I'm trying to bring to the world of these things? And so you're going to see like, there's these cool elements around the photos, and there's like these awesome looking quotes, and there's like these micro interactions that happen when you're like hovering over these things. And there's even like a testimonial slider of real effing people, because I had it go scrape the internet and look for any cool things that people said about me and grab the images of these humans and build this out. And so like, if I go through this, like, okay, we've talked about this, by the way, but T-shaped business owner, T-shaped marketer, T-shaped AI assistant. Like there literally is what is the thing that you're, deep in and know these things broad and wide. And so you'll see like what's funny, Chris, I talked to you about this. The first thing is AI. Second thing is HubSpot. Third thing is marketing. But like if somebody came to me like, what can you teach me? I can teach you one of these things, or I can teach you all of these things. Because, by the way, this is a roadmap of who I have become over the last 10 to 12 years, right there in like 8 blocks, right? And so we talk about 8 pillars of mastery, and you can see AI and technology, HubSpot mastery, marketing and sales. But notice these cards, like the icon, like and the hover effects, and by the way, this was getting the assistant to go look at what are micro interactions and to download this like thing and to make sure this is all relevant. And so we can even get to this like about section, right? Which remember, Friday, this was the about page. Okay. And we get to this about page, which is like, hey, dude on stage, here's the journey, but from dropout to difference maker. And literally 1989, 2007, 2010, 2012, and see how it's all floating at 2017, 2022, 2023. And it's these micro stories of everything that has been happening that is the journey of this guy that is George B. Thomas. And so you can see like one-to-one coaching. Okay, sweet. Here's those areas again, but we want to make sure that we're building something that is not creating buyer repellent. And so here's how it works, by the way. You do an activation meeting, you get a custom plan, we transform together, and we measure and iterate. Oh, that sounds like a loop, but I won't even bring that up. But now notice, choose your path. And we've literally got these cards, and then boom, you can start this journey. What's fun about this is literally my assistant built all the custom properties, all the forms, all the workflows, all the things in HubSpot to make this be complete. The only thing I went and did is I made the payment links. That's the only thing I did. And then I told it where the payment links were, and I went to Vercel and all that good stuff, right? But here's the thing that blew my mind. I was actually out getting dinner for me and my son. And I was like, the crappy thing about this is I have created a big digital footprint. I've got a lot of content out there, but I've got to tell people all these different places to go to find it. This YouTube channel, that YouTube channel, this website, that website. I said, Claude, is there a way to build a resource center where it's not really even a resource center, but it's like a link to like everything else that I've created on the planet? So like, I don't need sanity.io to hold it because I don't want to duplicate it, but I just want it to look like it's a resource center, then link out to where they need to go. And so you can literally come in here and be like videos, podcasts, articles. You can go by topic, or you can be like, hey, I just want spiritual side of leadership. or Sidekick Strategies, or Hub Heroes, or George B. Thomas, or Beyond Your Default. And like if I said, hey, I just want to see Beyond Your Default, now all of a sudden all the Beyond Your Default podcast episodes are here. If all of a sudden I said, hey, I want to see Spiritual Side of Leadership, now all of them are here. If I say I want to see it all, now everything's brought in here. And what's cool is if you go videos, it's bringing in my live videos, it's bringing in my shorts, like it's bringing in videos, which then this takes you to the channel. So everything goes to its original link. I don't even have to think about canonical links because it's just literally, and here's what's fun about this is I built it, by the way, I love this part, by the way, watch this. When I see how this, like this happens. And so what I want to do is I want to make it so it just felt like it became one piece when we actually scrolled up. So it literally just becomes one unit. That was fun to build. Anyway, I'll show you one other thing that I think is super cool about this that I could have never done. If I go to speaking, and then I'll come back to this resource center because I want people to understand we can think about things differently. By the way, that's YouTube video. And I asked my assistant to make the video player my color and actually just create these elements around the player. And so now for every player, we have these like little interactive elements. So it doesn't look so much like a YouTube video, but it's literally a YouTube video. So then I'm getting YouTube watch time as they're actually watching the videos. Strategy. Anyway, if you're a content creator and you want to get more subscribers and you want to get more watch time and you want to be able to monetize eventually, like then all of a sudden you make it not look like YouTube, but be YouTube. I digress. By the way, have anybody written down all the strategies that Chris shared with you? And are you writing down the strategies that I'm sharing with you on the things that we're just visually showing? But here's what's cool. Like you get down here. By the way, it built out this video slider. Hey, Chris, you're on there, by the way. Nico, you're on here too, just saying. Like it built out this slider that they can just come through and they can just start watching these videos of things that I felt would be important for them to know as far as a speaker. That's not even this is cool. Not the coolest thing. Here, it's the little things in life. So notice this, explore keynote topics, 6 HubSpot potential topics, 6 video marketing topics, 6 podcast. You get it. There's 6 of all of these, but these will take you down. Like this will take me to HubSpot. I want you to notice what just happened though. Notice here on the left-hand side, if I scroll down, boom, this appears. And now when I scroll through this, if all of a sudden I wanted to see podcasting, it'll just take me down to podcasting. Or if I want to see transformation, it'll just take me down to transformation. But when I get past this, watch this, it gets out of the way, it just disappears. So it shows up and disappears when you're out of that section. By the way, I told it to look at my website and just pull the existing logo scroller, and it built the new logo scroller in here of all the places that I've spoken before. So like now all of a sudden, this is an experience where it's like, yeah, I want to book George. And all of a sudden you come over here. This needs help, by the way. I was like, Claude, this sucks, but we'll get to that Sunday. But now you can come over here and you can start to book like me as a speaker, whether it's a podcast or a stage. And so now all of a sudden we've got all of these resources. We've got all of the expertise and who I am. And all of it, by the way, there's an interlinking thing where it's like, whenever we mention superhuman framework, link to that. Whenever we mention spiritual side of leadership, link to that. Whenever we mention agency, HubSpot, link to Sidekick Strategies. So it's linking out throughout all these pages. I literally have one place I can be like, hey, if you want to learn about George B. Thomas from what I do, just go to georgebthomas.com and feel good about it. On Friday, it was this. It's Sunday, ladies and gentlemen. And now it's this, where we even have client testimonials as cards that you can just scroll down through and see like what people think when it comes to working with George B. Thomas and what it's like. And so I don't show you this to brag. I show you to this, like, if you're creative and if you set up a system and if you pay attention to things that we're talking about on shows like this and the weekly show, you can be a person who never coded before and get yourself to the point where you can build stuff like this. By the way, did you know that you can drag photos into Terminal? I never knew that until like a day ago, which is amazing, mind-blowing change in the way that you work. I'm just throwing that out there, ladies and gentlemen. And so this resources, here's what's fun. Well, George, isn't that a pain in the butt to keep up? Anytime we go create a new article on spiritual side of leadership or Sidekick Strategies, I'm not worried about it. We're just going to create the content like we've already created content. We're going to post it like we've already posted, because we literally set up a system where Sundays at midnight, it goes and looks at all of the RSS feeds, all of the YouTube channels, all of the places that we're distributing content, and it runs a cron job and it repopulates to the next set of resources. So today we're sitting here with 926 plus resources to transform you into a superhuman marketer, superhuman HubSpot user, superhuman podcaster. By the way, as you watch these rotators, you might understand what my content strategy is going to be in 2026 and beyond, because I will write content to all of these things that is spinning, the 8 buckets of expertise. Then I need to have content that teaches those expertise, strategy, to creativity, to goal in the future. Okay, so here's the thing. Here's what's fun. I'm going to go past that for a second. We created this website, which is the website where it's like the whole framework, superhuman framework, but a very specific niche, faith-driven leaders. Okay. And we built this has taken like a couple weeks, where it's like the cornerstones and the pillars. But there's some crazy stuff in here too, where it's like, hey, I want to create something where if there's group pricing, that we can actually have like a group pricing section, right? So group plans. But then check this out, Kingdom Impact. So it's like referral, but it's not referral, where anybody that signs up, we're actually giving portions of what they sign up to for like different like World Vision and Lionheart charities. And so it's like your money is actually helping these other places like Charity Water, like that kind of stuff.
It's like a pay it forward.
Yeah, it's a pay it forward. Instead of a referral, it's a pay it forward. Well, here's what's fun about this is like, I don't want to do that math. So behind the scenes, there's literally a thing that pays attention to all the payments and creates a dashboard and tells me exactly how much to pay out every month to each charity. And I just cut a check and send it, because it's all doing the math, because, well, Claude and the systems are good at math. And so like, we're going to build this up more in the future, but superhuman framework. I've always wanted to do this at a level where you could go somewhere and you could see it for HR. You could see it for marketing. You could see it for professional growth. It's not there yet, but that's the roadmap for this website, right? Because Chris, you and I talked about it from HR. We've talked about it from marketing. I did an inbound talk, superhuman framework for marketing. And so when this one's finally done, it'll literally be like that framework for those 3 layers, because I've already got the framework for the other layer that I'm worried about. And so it allows you to just play like, listen, I did this in like a day and a half, where I wished HubSpot, instead of doing the loop marketing, would have done like a revenue loop or something better, right? And so like, you just have to start to think about like, do you want to stay in the old world of where you're at? By the way, this is our Sidekick Strategies website. That's all I'll say about that. Nope. That's all I'll say about it. Do you want to stay in the old way that you've always done it? Or do you want to take time to educate yourself and be able to live in a new world where now all of a sudden this could, by the way, like some of these plug into sanity.io. There's entire CMSs behind them. Some of them don't have to, and so they don't. But you can create the ecosystem and the future and the education that you want, the experience that you want. And listen, I have historically always said I'm not that nerdy. I don't have to be that nerdy. Even now, I do think I'm kind of nerdy, but to be honest with you, the fact that cron job came out my mouth last night, but so I am a little, but the AI assistant in doing has taught me how to be, or how to learn to be more nerdy in the 20 or 30% space that I need to be more nerdy. And there's just this level of freedom that you get when you're like, man, possibilities are endless. If all of a sudden one day I wake up and I want to create XYZ, guess what? I fire up my assistant and I create XYZ. And here's the thing, everything that we've talked about today has been about code. I want you to know that there's a hidden Claude project on just my local machine that has all the context and all the systems set up, that it is actually helping me write a book. Has nothing to do with code.
Yeah.
Everything to do with content. So if you haven't done this search, because there is a guy out there, by the way, knocking it out the park, Claude Code for content creation. And he's got some real great structures and plugins and skills that he talks about. Like, that's the thing. I don't want you to just think this is a code agent. It
Right.
could be a run your life agent if you wanted it to. You just have to build it.
Yeah. And I would love you, George, to talk about last year at the same
Yeah.
time, right? Because I'm
Yeah.
experiencing some of this cycle right now too, where for me, it was last year. I'd spent the holiday like fleshing out value first. Then I had to switch gears to profoundly like launching, and that
Yep.
basically made me forget, made me have to push value first to the back seat.
Yeah.
And we had just gotten done with the Superhuman Framework series, and you were like in go mode, and you
Yeah.
created this strategy where it was George B. Thomas' website. It was Sidekick Strategies. There was a Superhuman Framework initiative coming out, Beyond
Yep.
Your Default. We were going to write a book.
Yep.
And like, if you don't mind sharing how you felt at the end of January, where very quickly, I'd say you weren't feeling free to be able to do all those things.
No, like, no. Here's what I will tell you. There's this there's this interesting part about me that I am very driven to add value to the world. And I have a lot of ideas in which the ways that I can add value to the world. But because I have these ideas and I can't execute all the ideas, there was a time and a place where I would tell you that I felt very caged and I felt very depressed. And I will even say the reason that we now have Spiritual Side of Leadership is because back about a year ago, I was in one of the darkest dungeon areas. Like, I'm usually not an anxiety guy, but I had hyper anxiety. I had mornings I didn't want to get out of bed. And I had let this entrepreneurial, by the way, you guys mentioned this word earlier. There is only one profession, entrepreneur. That scares the shit out of me for a lot of humans, because that's a large weight to bear. And if you don't have systems, processes, and beliefs in a way that it keeps you on the rails versus getting off the rails, like I was about a year ago and felt caged and anxious, it's a rough go. Now, I've worked my way out of that. Again, being very honest, transparent, vulnerable right here, right now. But where I feel like I'm at now is I'm empowered to actually bring these things to fruition. And let me explain why this is so important to me. I literally had, as a matter of fact, I literally had a conversation. That's not what I wanted. I had a conversation with a client, and we were talking about some work stuff and some like real life stuff. And one of the things that I said during this, come on, thank you. One of the things that I said during, that was a lifetime of load, by the way. Anyway, one of the things that I said to them was like, because we're talking about fear and regret. And I said, here's the thing, like, you're dealing with the fear of doing something and it being wrong. I fear the regret of not doing it more than I fear the doing it and failing it. And so I literally like wrote this like orchestration versus collection, which has this undertone of like, listen, get in the damn driver's seat. Like, forget about this idea of fail, lean into this idea of learn. And like, because what I don't want to do, I don't want to get to the end of, I don't want to get to the end of my life and have this like audience of could have beens. I want to get to my life and know that I laid it all out on the field, and that any way that I could have impacted humans with the time that I have been on the planet, like I took every opportunity to do that. And this AI native, this value first, human centered, content driven, AI assisted, like these are why I use these words, because that whole package is empowering and enable me to be that and not what I was a year ago.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Like, because we're trying, like, when you unlock this, because I remember a lot of our conversations and like, this is going to relate to tech debt and sunk cost decision making and all this stuff. What he just did, like since Friday, a website that already existed, georgebthomas.com already
Yeah.
existed.
Yeah.
And the route we would have gone prior to now is that it already exists. Maybe not the best use of my time to remake it. Is it really that bad? Like, right? And we find ways to the thing we're supposed to be doing, the thing
Yeah.
we're supposed to prioritize often comes back to like making money in some way and taking care of other people around us. That doesn't have to get in the way of these other things now. And his ability to recreate that whole experience in the space of less than 48 hours.
Yep.
Like takes the belief that you can do that, so that if you decide that that is a valuable thing to do, you don't have to let this sunk cost or tech debt or the stuff already exists. It doesn't matter. If it already exists, that makes it even easier to do it the way that you want to do it.
Can I throw one other piece in there too? Because I think it might help align like why this was important. Is like with AI, we are quickly moving into a world where the humanness of who we are is going to be the differentiator. I look at my historical website and I'm like, I am more creative than that. I look at my current or old website and I go, I've got a better story than that. I look at my old website and I go, man, we could create a doper experience than that. I look at my content and it's all spread out and I'm like, man, this is a pain in the ass for the humans who I'm just trying to add value. Let me condense it and make a better experience than that. And so it comes from a place of servanthood, but also from a place of understanding that this is georgebthomas.com. By the way, I didn't share this with you guys. I'm going to share this right now. I haven't even told the internet about this. So let me share my screen again and go to,
as George is saying this, right? Like, one of the reasons that we don't do the thing, especially now, is if you're going to build something and you know everything's moving so fast that even when you build it, it's going to be immediately out of date, like tomorrow.
Yeah.
And the amount of work it would have been to make sure it's always up to date and always showing George B. Thomas as he is right here and now.
Yep.
Used to be a ton of work and basically impossible unless that was the only thing that you were doing every day, which is how content creators and the ones that have done videos every day and their profiles always up to date, like that's their full-time job, right?
Yeah.
Now, again, we don't have to let that hold us back because we have a system and AI friends that we can use to plug in George B. Thomas as he's moving through his day to make sure it is always up to date. So now all of a sudden we can move forward with that thing.
Yeah. So Chris, share my screen because you guys are going to be the first on the internet to know this. If you're watching this, by the way, right now, just put in the comments or the chat pane, just put like here, because I want to see like live human beings that are actually going to hear what I'm about to say. So Chris, one of the things, because we haven't launched this to the world, like we haven't talked about it on social, like this is literally the first time I'm showing this website, this new site, this new experience. I've been talking to Jorge and the rest of the team, and I had this crazy idea. I said, what if we just did things like ass backwards from how people say we should do it? Like, what if we just did it different? And so I'll just point the pointer right down here to where it says talk to AI GBT. You click on this and it's an immediate phone call. And ladies and gentlemen, we have made AI GBT 100% free. So when I launch this website, I'm letting everybody know that they don't have to worry about paying a monthly fee. They don't have to worry about whatever. They can just come here and they can have a conversation. And so the same methodology where, yes, if you wanted to come and have a conversation about HubSpot, you could, but all the AI stuff, all the HubSpot stuff, all the videos, like all the things that make up my digital brain. We talked about digital brains, vector databases, all that, everything that makes me, like in a digital form, is now going to be 100% free on the George B. Thomas website, where you can just come and have a phone call with it, or you can chat with it too. If you like to text, you can figure out how to get to that. But I want it to be a call, because then you're talking to me and it sounds more human. But 100% free. Gonna release this to the world later this week, coming up, this website, this experience, and then and just go from there and see what happens. So yeah.
And that comes back to something Nico said earlier, like every 2 weeks. I mean, I would argue less at this point. It was less over the break, right? Because all this stuff started unloading from Claude Code, the ability to do skills and agents and slash commands. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, I don't have to ask anybody else to do this. It's right here. And now plugins, and it's just moving so fast. And the way that you keep up with it is to know that Claude Code is your boy, like right next to you, just ready. Like, and it just takes this little, like, you can get these seeds of like these ideas from anywhere.
Can I talk about, just real quick, because hopefully this will unlock somebody. And again, this is kind of based off the cornerstones: purpose, passion, persistence, love, right? Like there's just a fundamental piece. But here's what I would tell you, that it's about the caring, love, caring of a set of humans that you feel like you were put on this planet to help. Allowing yourself to have the curiosity to play and learn, to then be able to create. Because anytime you're curious and create out of a place of care, you're going to create some dope shit. I'm just saying.
Yeah. And as the world around you spins up, goes faster, and this stuff starts to cost less, that's why George is in a place to make that thing free.
Yep.
Right? Like, oh man. What do you think, Nico? Your turn? We can keep going, right?
I mean, yeah, like could keep going forever. Yeah, I think one thing that people kind of maybe don't realize, or like haven't, I hope you guys have taken this away. I hope you've been listening really closely, because if you've been listening really closely, then you'll notice that in the entire 2 hours we've been on, not a single person said HubSpot. I've been waiting, sitting back, been listening. Surely somebody will mention it, even if it's in the discussion of integration. Nope. George even mentioned the scheduler. Surely he's going to bring up HubSpot and an integration to the HubSpot. Nope. You want to know why? Because these two guys, including myself, because everybody, we talked about this. We've been talking about this. Don't act like you're surprised, because we've been talking about this, right? Last year we said, I thought it would be a singular app. It is. I just thought it would be packaged and somebody would have packaged it by now, but it turns out that Claude Code just is. But we were talking about the fact that it's going to get to the point where you just code your own CRM because you want it to look however you want it to look, and you want it to function how you want it to function. And the three of us, these two guys, they're steps away. They're two or three prompts away from having their own CRM. They already have databases set up. All right. They've both got email set up, both have chatbots set up. They both have media set up. They both have agents on the back end that cut up their media and distribute their media. Oh shit, isn't that? Oh, that's Remix. That's content remix. Oh fuck. So like, don't you want to talk about text? That's why this show is called Tech Stack Reimagined, because who could have imagined that everyone can build their own CRM piece by piece by piece, just out of curiosity? You don't even really know that you're doing it. But then you step back and you're like, wait a minute. When HubSpot's really just, man, it's really just a graphic user interface on top of a database.
So,
And it has all these functions and tools plugged into it. And all of these things are made of code.
can I say something right there? Two things. One, the amount of times that I've giggled at the loss of the mystique of what is SaaS software. I'm like, yeah, okay, this used to feel like magic. It doesn't feel like magic anymore. But I started laughing because you said building your own CRM. Spiritual side of leadership. Okay, the CMS is sanity.io. And I was having a conversation with Claude about like the next steps of what we're doing and building over there. And it literally said to me, I noticed that you've been using sanity.io as your CMS. Would you also like to structure it to be your CRM? And I said, not yet. I said, not yet. It wasn't a hard no, right? And like, if you know me, I'm the HubSpot guy. Like right now, everything APIs into a HubSpot form, and that's my CRM, and that's my workflows. But I'm literally like at this point of like, okay, is there a point just for play's sake where Sidekick Strategies and GeorgeBThomas.com they're in HubSpot, but do I go ahead and say, hey, for this other, ministry passion project, do I see how much I can rebuild of what I need and want as a CRM and a CMS in sanity.io? Maybe. Not yet.
I mean, last week there was I caught a video. For now, only 12,000 people have seen it, but it's gonna explode soon enough. Saw a video that was basically open source version of Airtable.
Oh yeah, yep. I saw that.
Right. So basically, if you take a very small amount of time, what's really crazy is that you guys might be saying to yourselves, wow, yeah, they did this, but they've been doing it for a long time. So you're looking at one person that has done it for just over a month and the other guy who's done it for just over 3 months.
Yep.
Right. And yeah, I've been doing it for like 6 months or something like that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We're all on the same level today. That's how much it doesn't matter. We've been trying to tell you that what AI does is levels the playing field for everyone. Everyone gets to have the same skill set. You just have to want to have it. That's your only barrier to entry. Your only barrier to entry to having the same superpowers is what I will call them as what we have is just wanting to do it. Man, you look at like my GitHub, it looks like a comet. It looks like a Kamehameha. Like it is just super bright green at the beginning. And then you see this trail off green towards the end. And it's like, wow, you can see, literally watch my level of interest and effort and work go into this thing and like how often I was doing this stuff. And now it's just straight up bright green like the entire time. And if it isn't, like it kind of worries me, almost like closing your circles or getting your steps in every day. It's like, oh man, I didn't code enough this week. Didn't commit enough things to the
well, but be careful with that because I've had to, in the 30 or so days, I've had to force myself to say, this is a no code day. Like we as humans, we are built in a way that we need at least a day of rest. By the way, this is my day, but I'm still on this conversation because I'm having fun and hanging out with friends, and adding value along the way. But like here's what I don't want to happen. Because you can have these superpowers and you can create an entire website ecosystem in less than 48 hours, that doesn't mean that you should and could create 5 entire ecosystems. It means that you now should have more time to chill the frick out. Like moving forward, you've got to understand, here's the goal. Here's when I want to get to that goal. Here's the amount that I'm allowing myself to work on that goal, but I am going to force myself to take more time out, right? So like, I'll give you a real world example. I have a client. They need this 3 email series in HubSpot. There, I said it. And one of the emails needed to be a programmable email that used a HubDB database to actually send very contextual information based on a property code. To which I built that programmable email module using Claude. What would have taken a developer maybe half a day or a whole day to build, about 45 minutes. So did I go build something else? Not immediately. I went and took a walk because I just did a half day's work in 45 minutes. As a human, I need to give myself a minute to just go enjoy being a human. So I hope people, as they get the endorphins and the drugs that we produce as, like, I'm not talking about the illegal ones, folks. I'm talking about the ones that we create in our own body. You have to learn how to manage those, because it comes back to being human powered, AI assisted. And if you let AI get in the driver's seat and you forget the human side of this, we're all going to end up burning out.
Yeah. And this is where, again, you, the human, in your context that you have, whether it be personal or business, like figuring under, like giving AI that context is so important, because while also knowing that these gaps that we highlight may not be around like for very much longer. And that's where over the past year, like so many people have come up to me like, is this app a good idea? Like kinds of conversations, right? Mm-hmm. And what I've always said is, yeah, it probably is, but good luck making any money off of it, because of what you're up against in terms of, very likely, if it relates to business, either one of the big guys is going to build it or could build it, like a HubSpot, and building more functionality into their platform, or the LLMs, the AI companies themselves will build it. And what Nico mentioned about thinking it was going to be a packaged app, and now it's actually just talking to Claude Code, right, is part of what we're talking about. Because even like so many agent builders and drag and drop agent orchestrators had come out, and that's where, like, so many months ago we talked about N8N and wanted to get in there. And it's like, the more systems we have to go use, naturally we'll pull back. That's why, like, the moment that we figured out we could build agents like with Claude Code himself, it's like, okay, like another layer unlock, and we don't need to go into extra software. Right? But the gap that currently exists, and I'm glad Alex brought this up. He says, how do you think the long-term implications of security will be as we've increased AI app dev for tool involved in enterprise level work? This enterprise and team equation, right? That the individualized, personalized tech stacks work very effectively when it's just you, right? The difference that George describes between spiritual side of leadership and sidekick strategies, I would imagine, George, you're the only executionist of spiritual side of leadership. Meanwhile, sidekick strategies,
yep,
got a team of people that you have to find some shared capabilities in order for people to be able to work together effectively, and in the past and still currently, in my opinion, it's easier to get there with a ClickUp or with a HubSpot, right? The key to effective collaboration and teamwork in HubSpot is everybody has the HubSpot capability and knows how to use the system. And because HubSpot already built it, you don't have to worry about that part. You focus on team enablement. What we're experiencing in Value First Team right now, and why I'm saying AI native and AI orchestration is the capability that you have to build for your organization, is when I can bring Ryan Ginsberg and Casey Hawkins and Riley Powell and Clem and Rovat into this world of using Claude Code instead. And now that's the capability. They don't have to touch HubSpot. We're still using HubSpot as the database. But unless you can get to that consistent, is everybody using the same like capabilities to get this team outcome done, right? Yeah. That's the part that's very hard to replicate. And again, it helps when you can get people aligned on vision. It gets back to leadership and culture, right? But for a leader to come in and say, we're not using slides anymore. You're not allowed to use slides. You're not allowed to use spreadsheets. This is like, you have to do the work to bring that capability and mindset, which is completely different than logging into software and doing data entry, right?
Yep.
Like it's there, that path is there, but the work to get there across teams of people is significant, right?
Can I share something?
Where very quick to get from 0 to 1 as an individual.
Yeah.
But when you try to bring that into a team, it could create an even bigger gap to where now everybody's having different experiences. And it's just something to be aware of. I anticipate by the end of 2026, Claude Code or Anthropic or one of the big will have figured that out, right? Google Workspace is just sitting over there. I'm sure by the end of the year, like I'm just going to take that part of the equation out. So whatever you build, it's going to check, oh, is this a business account or an individual account? Oh, business account's going to all get built in the same way. So SS, like single sign-on is going to be handled, like security is going to be handled, like all that stuff's just automatically going to be handled, right? But we're not there yet.
Yeah. So I want to, you said something about being the single, executionist at spiritual side of leadership. Yes. There are people helping with like posting content and stuff that I've created and stuff like that, but pretty much single individual, especially building the site. So like two things. One, when you want to create something cool, you can create something cool. And so like a pop-out player that actually reads the article and follows them down the screen is cool. But that's not what I wanted to show. Like, see this download worksheet? Okay. This download worksheet, when we first publish a worksheet, it's not there. That doesn't show up. What happens, we publish the article, okay? And then I'll show you a system. But when we click on this download worksheet, notice it comes down here to an actual CTA, and then you can literally hit download, and then like it's going to open, and then boom, here's your thing, right? Okay, so now here's your worksheet. So imagine if I had to build a worksheet for every article, especially if I go to my add-in area and I go to like because by the way, these are all the tools that I've built to work in the back end of this so I can actually execute on stuff. So if I go to my worksheets tab, notice I have 219 articles, 219 with worksheets. So I have 0 worksheets that I actually need to build right now. And so what I want you, everybody to realize is we actually built a system where we would go in here and I would be like, please build the worksheet. All right. And what's going to do is going to ask me for a URL to the actual article. And then it's going to go and build the worksheet, but it doesn't just build the worksheet. Now I don't have a notice. It's like, which article should I create the worksheet from? Like, give me the URL, dude. By the way, if I just say create worksheet and then I paste the URL and it just builds the worksheet. But what I want everybody to realize is when I do that, what it actually builds is it builds the worksheet. All right. And I'm actually going to show you one other place. I'm going to go in here real quick. Actually, let me go here and then go to Studio. So what it does is it builds the worksheet it adds this link to the top hero section. It builds this CTA and inserts it in the bottom section. I don't have to do any drag or drop. It just shows it, like it just shows up. And it actually is all happening back here in, where did you open up at? It's happening back here in Sanity. So if I go structure here, you'll see that I have a section here for, I'm really opening up the kimono. I have this section here for that is downloadables. And so it's creating all of these downloadable worksheets right here. And what's fun is if I go to the worksheet, it's going to show where it actually is linking, like what it's linking to. So it links to like this article. And like when I go to the article for this worksheet, it literally shows where it links to this worksheet. Cause like, here's all my articles. And so I want you to realize I go into Claude Code. I say, create this worksheet. I give it the URL. It's automatically linking the two together. It's automatically, by the way, adding it to my resource center. So if I go back to resources, by the way, don't judge me. I'm still doing some work on this because this is the one I ripped Tailwind out of and like fixing some stuff around. But if I go to the resource center, you'll see this is like all articles. So yeah, this needs fixed, ladies and gentlemen. But notice it's just articles and it's videos or whatever. But if I come here and I go downloads, like it doesn't, like if I go all types, you don't see downloads, but it does add all the downloads. So now here's all the downloads, all the worksheets. They're just hidden from like the main view until you want to get to them. So it creates the worksheet. It adds the worksheet to the resource center. It adds the CTA to the article and adds the link that drops it down to the CTA. And all I did was go in and say, create the worksheet, paste URL, and it's done. So how hard is it to keep up with a worksheet every day when you're doing daily content on a website? Not hard at all. You publish the article and then you go to Claude and say, create the worksheet for it, and you're done. You walk away. But only if you enable yourself to do that with a dope AI assistant.
That's the thing, right? Is like if you take the time, right? If you want to take the time, if you actually want to get into it, like all of these things are like, they're so much easier than you would ever think for them, like that they would be. And they all seem like so intimidating at first until you again start getting into it. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, this isn't what like as hard as I thought. And as you lean into it, like George is saying, you start asking Claude, like, okay, well, how, like, hold my hand, carry me across this bridge of knowledge that I'm unaware of, right? And as long as you continually work in that fashion where you just have this like Socratic frame of mind applied towards what it is you're trying to do, so that instead of thinking, oh, I got this far, I don't know where to go next, the thought process is, oh, I got this far, I wonder how much further I could go.
Yes.
Right. Like that's where the critical aspect of things comes into play, because then all of a sudden you take one step, you just go one step further and you just say, okay, well, we got here. What about going there? Right. And again, stop and realize that it's all code.
All of it.
It's all code. So the only limitation, right, realistically, so eventually you'll bump into like, oh man, maybe some hardware stuff, and when I say hardware stuff, I mean, maybe you might have to sign up for a particular service or something, and you realize, oh, this app I'm creating is no longer a project thing because one of these subs is going to cost me $50 a month or something. Then it starts coming out to being like, okay, well, how much time is the app saving you? What does that cost per month? And realistically, how much more can you do? Right. So like if you had to upgrade to whatever the hell it was, right? How much more are you capable of doing now that you have that? Because now maybe it's not just the one project app. It's like, oh, okay, well, that's done. And now that I have this thing, it enables me to do this other stuff too. Right.
Yeah.
So like, I just think it's like, it's the most productive wormhole that you could possibly go down.
And because it exists, what I'm seeing now is you'd start developing the other direction where something that you might not think, or maybe it has not been code based before, now is. Right. So imagine, George, your PDF, your programmatic PDF generation of worksheets. Can we do that for video too? The answer is now yes.
Yeah.
Right. And this started from a place of Ryan Ginsberg just sharing this link with me and saying, yes, this is going to be pretty insane for training enablement.
Yep.
And again, training enablement and on-demand videos, something I know how important that is. For whatever reason, I haven't been able to get myself to do it.
Mhm.
And an example of like software versus doing it yourself, like this is what keeps happening for me is I'm trying to not give up on everything HubSpot. And something I've asked for from the team that I'm now helping them test is the ability to create videos inside of HubSpot, right? And so before I saw this, I was like, all right, yes, something I can't really do anywhere else. I'm going to go do it in HubSpot. It's going to be easier.
Whoopsie.
And then this thing happened. And like even though I've shared this journey, there's still, you find spots to be like, oh, that's going to be too hard, or oh, I don't have the time right now. And one of those spaces where this collective foundation gets built, and at some point you just can't find the barrier anymore, the one that you made up. And I already showed Coach Chris, and one of the things waiting on that, my advancement was waiting on it. The third party I'm working with was waiting on it. Was an 11 Labs voice clone, right? Which the first time I pulled this up a couple weeks ago, for whatever reason, what I read in the video was like how to make a great voice clone. And it's just like, man, I'm not in the space. I got to do some work. It says it wants 30 minutes, like blah, blah, blah. I didn't do it. Right. So then as I'm implementing this, this videos, programmatic videos, which by the way, doing all this other stuff. And I'm like, Claude, check this out. Should we add it in? And he's like, yes, I can do this and this and this, and this is how it works, and blah, blah, blah. It builds a spec, starts implementing, right? Gets all the way to the point of the audio, and it's not done yet. So he says, we made some silent videos, right? Based on some of the presentations. And then you see it at that point, and I'm like, okay, this is basically just a Canva or PowerPoint like slide like video. You know, nothing rocket science there. Now that the audio layer is going to be added in there, I've started exploring like Suno show music, right? Like getting to the point of like real videos based on code. Like, and what a shift that has been, where October, I am drag and drop, no code, don't even touch me,
Right.
with code kind of guy.
Yeah.
Now, if it says developer focus or code bit, like that's all I want. I don't even
in.
want to see the other stuff, because I know Claude Code that activates Claude Code, not because I can code, not because I can develop, right? So what this was is finally today, I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this. It took me 15 minutes to upload 3, like there's 2 hours worth of audio from LinkedIn shows that I've done. Like I didn't have to do any extra work to make it like great, because those recordings were already good.
Yeah.
Right. And I finally did that process. When I did it, it's like, all right, let's be ready in 2 to 6 hours. Right. Come on, do the show. It's ready to go. And now like Claude Code is just, hey, do you want to check if 11 Labs is done? And it's like, yep. And the whole infrastructure around it Like this is where, like, if you think back to projects that don't get done because you're waiting on other teams of people or other third parties and everything's a prerequisite and can we move forward or not? Should we move forward? Are we gonna have to rework it because we didn't actually see the result of this team over here? And should, like, all of that stuff, just so much gray area bullshit that gets in the way of progress and value creation just goes away. And
so so first of all, when I see you talking about this, the fact that you're thinking about like Suno API for background instrumental music, 11 Labs for my voice, for the actual talk track, whatever for like the underlying piece of it, or if it's actually whatever, like where my brain goes is you're literally at the beginning start of creating your own notebook LM, where you'll be able to give it a topic, tell it to look at a page that you've already built on your website, and now craft a video that goes along with it. And it spits it out in your voice, your music, your whatever. Like, I'm going to the deep end of the pool, but like, what's crazy is now all of a sudden that becomes a very automated function based on code that is processed and pushed for you to get the outcome of this thing that you can now share with the world. Like, oh, Jesus. It's crazy.
yeah,
It's a whole new thing, man. Like I said, it's just your tech stack becomes your tech stack now. And I mean, it's not even, it's gonna get to a point. I mean, I know that you guys are gonna get to the same point where, you know, I'm trying to piece by piece, I'm putting something together that basically like maintains itself, right? And once it gets to that point, right, especially when in like again next iterations with just verbal command on stuff, right, it's gonna feel so flawless to the point where you're really not going, I mean, the majority of the time that I'm putting something together, it's legitimately like, hey, I want to build this thing out, you know, here are the top 5 features I want. Go at it, you know, let's put a plan together. Put the plan together. Awesome. Plan looks like what I want. Sweet. Okay. Turn this into a turnkey application where all I have to do is throw in the credentials and then we get going. Right. So like there are things from like real life that translate to like make your life 10 times easier, right? And
Yeah.
And one of those is turnkey. Want a turnkey operation, right? Like I don't want to have to do anything between now that I've told you something and when I actually have to go test this thing, right? So like if you really want to, right, you want to set it and forget it or whatever, and you don't care 2 bits about the code, yeah, you can go that route about it, right? Just use like normal everyday language to get past these barriers of like, yeah, but I don't know what the technical next step is, and I don't know what this is. I'm telling you, like, I hit this wall the other day that was insane. And the problem should not have been as difficult as it was. And it was a matter of just setting up a queue timer and trying to talk Claude through what I wanted was just not getting anywhere.
Yeah.
But then as soon as I stepped back and I put it into the metaphor of it being a bank and a bank teller handling requests from customers and how those requests were getting handled, without saying anything technical, anything code related, Claude was like, "Oh yeah, okay, I know what you mean now. Just fix it like this, and we change this timer, and you know this, that, and the other thing. Boom, one shot it, work, no problem." Right. So, like, in terms of do you have to be technical in order to use these things? They are being engineered for you to use everyday language to do amazing things.
So, what I hope people heard is if your AI assistant isn't getting it right, think about how you can be a better communicator. Because I've run into that too, where I would like say this, and I'm like, no. And I tell it to do it again. No. And then I tell it to do it again. And then I'd be like, wait, let me say it this way. And then all of a sudden it does it perfectly. And I'm like, oh shit. The problem was me.
Yeah. That's sort of like the belief that it can and should be doable. So powerful. And that's why if you let like hallucinations and the idea of it can't do it in, you will find ways to give up on the process and blame AI for it. Right.
Yep.
And here's a live example where I want to test this voice out. And the first one I hit before I reshared the screen, I was like, man, that doesn't sound like me at all. What happened here?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm starting to click through, but it would have been so easy to be like, all right, like not what I wanted it to be. Like, let me come back to this later. I come over here and I look, because this is where I don't know if this was an accident or something. It said Chris in the name, right? This is the one it was using. So I'm like, okay, this should be good. It says my name. Clearly that's the one that I just came from where I built my own, right? I look at this list and then I realized like I had to select this one instead. And when I did, this is the result.
Uh-oh.
Why don't skeletons fight each other? They don't have the guts.
But I'm bumped. Dude,
Like,
play that again.
I'm
Really
shipping that. I'm
Right.
shipping that, folks. Like, why don't skeletons fight each other? They don't have the guts.
Wow, dude. That does sound a lot like you.
Yep.
And oh man,
It
like
just keeps getting better. Like that's the
Yeah.
thing is you got like one of the things that people like, I don't know, it just doesn't sink in because products have not necessarily been like this. It's not necessarily been the case that whenever a new product or a new version of a product comes out, that it is actually better than the old one. Like sometimes, I don't know, you take away the jack for headphones on a phone and you don't tell people about it. Or I don't know, maybe you change the port on stuff entirely and you don't tell people about it. And you change the format of something, whatever it is, right? And it's not as great for everybody. It's not really well received. Stuff like that can backfire because it's product and it's like physical. Man, that's a real pain in the ass because recalls are not fun. Here we're really like we're talking about digital, but we're talking about it on a level where you're not only able to do this stuff, but the infrastructure you're using like automatically gets better. It never gets worse because it's a matter of intelligence. It's not a matter of I don't know. I don't know how else to explain it. It is. It's just like it's this level of intelligence, and it just keeps getting smarter and smarter and smarter and smarter. And it's never going to get dumber, so it's never going to get worse at what it does. Like that's the simplest I can make it. So you're learning to work with something that is only ever going to be more and more awesome. And I honestly, like, I can't tell you the last time I worked with an application where I was excited because I thought that it was going to become more awesome. Like HubSpot was definitely like that, right? And then they absolutely kind of just went overboard with the, hey, we're so awesome, we're going to hammer you over the head with how many awesome features we're rolling out like constantly on a daily basis, give you like 12 new features every single day, so you couldn't possibly keep up with the way in which our whole system is changing. Right? And I see that and I hear the complaints from customers of, wow, this platform is changing way too rapidly, I can't keep up with it. And I step back and I think, okay, but how much of that platform do you actually use? And then I go look up the stats.
Yeah.
And I go look across the SaaS like ecospace. And turns out that even on an enterprise level, people are only using, like, orgs might use tops 30%. of an overall software suite that they're paying for, which means you are quite honestly giving a 70% margin to the business, to whomever you are leasing from, because that's it. They got you. You're not even using it, but you're paying for it, right?
Mm.
Now, fast forward a year from now. If you're
Oh,
an
buddy.
enterprise business and you do not have an internal Vibe Code, Claude Code based dev department that is building and maintaining your internal tools, so that you basically, I'm not saying that like everyone's going to switch off of HubSpot. I'm not saying that everybody's going to switch off of Salesforce. I am saying it's all going to even out. So those enterprises that really do need Salesforce and they're deeply entrenched in it, yeah, okay, they're going to stick in there. Those companies that are deeply entrenched in HubSpot and they do use 100% of it, or they do use over 60% of it, they're going to stay. But the people who use less than 50% are going to make their own solution, because it's going to be cheaper. If I'm leasing software and I'm only using even 30% of it, I'm out. I'm looking for it. I use Clay all the time, and I'm building a version of Clay for myself on the side, because there's only 2 aspects of Clay that I really use, that I really need, that I've found out I can have outside of Clay. So realistically, I just need a database, graphic user interface of that database, and these other 2 features, and I'm good to go. Right. So, I mean, I replaced, I think, 12 enrichment features since I've started at Smoke Signals. In 2 months, I've cut, I don't even know how much overhead, but it's pretty nice. And have reduced our tech stack to our tech stack. It's ours. It's not other people's. We might use other people's API keys because they have maybe a tool or something that we can't use. But boy, do I try to figure out how to get around that real fast, right? Like, that's my number one goal, is to redo our tech stack to the point where there's a singular application that has all of the tools connected to it that runs everything that we do. Because why not? Because it is possible. So you can have your own CRM. You can have your own CPQ. All of these things that, and not only that, but it's like, again, maybe you're only using it because, I don't know how many clients do you guys know that, like, well, we're on it because it has this one feature that nobody else has, so we have to do this. And we need 20 seats, so we're stabbing ourselves in the neck because we only need one feature from this thing, right? And it's like, wow, could you build that thing outside of that software? Yes. Awesome. And you don't have to pay for seats. Now you own it. It's proprietary. It has exactly the feature you want on it. You don't even have to share it with other people. But if you wanted to, because you built it internally, and because you know other, here, ring a ding ding, folks, because you built it for yourself internally and you know everybody else in your ecosystem, guess what you can do? White label what you built and sell it to other people. It's endless, man. It's endless. When I think of what this does, when people are talking about, like, how do you get to trillions and trillions of dollars in commerce? It's an explosive force that is, I look at, like, oh man, if you do this, then you can sell it to these people. If they're using that, they can make these tools. If they make these tools, other people can use those tools, on and on and on and on and on. And it just keeps going. And you have, like, I don't know, anybody and everybody that can touch a keyboard that can build their own stuff, right? I'm talking about parents. I mean, GBT is already, it's released. I forget what it is, GBT Health, right? So that you can now basically give yourself a health checkup before you go to your doctor, so that you walk into your doctor's office with this, like, pre-screening already done. So that whole, like, gotta sit with the nurse and do all this other stuff and this, that, and the other, and, oh, let me look at your notes from last time and all that stuff. No, all the measurements, everything all done, ready for you. Just take it right in, right? The amount of healthcare costs that are going to just plummet over the next year is going to be amazing. And the quality of healthcare that is going to go up finally is also going to be amazing because the technology is going to make it more available to you than ever. Right. OpenAI is running, I know like Claude's running some great commercials too, but like OpenAI is running some amazing commercials. Saw one recently where a guy was talking about the fact that he has high blood pressure and he's also a gardener. Unlike myself, loves to eat vegetables. And so asked ChatGPT, hey, what can I grow in my garden that's going to help me with my blood pressure so that I don't have to go out and buy meds?
Yep.
So I can naturally help out my blood pressure and deal with it that way, right? I can lower my medical costs because I don't have to buy meds. I don't have to go to a doctor now. Those are two costs that are out of the way. All of a sudden, healthcare costs in America start to come down. And that whole thing of affordable healthcare starts to go up. Right? So it's going to be the case where you're going to have your phone is going to turn into, which I got to tell you, if you haven't, just look at like a documentary about Shenzhen or about Tokyo or about Shanghai and look up just basically cell phone, like, I don't know, daily cell phone use, right? Or like cell phone living, right? You'll notice that, I mean, it doesn't even have to be their cell phone. There's a couple places now that have this here in the US where you can just use your palm to pay for stuff. You don't even use your phone, right?
Crazy.
Like, right. Because it's like good luck faking that, right? So your phone is going to become your assistant, your confidant, your lawyer, your doctor, your personal coach. All of these things. It's going to become all of these things, right? And it's your help, your doctor is going to connect to the ring that's on your finger or the watch that's on your wrist or the bracelet that you wear or the necklace that you're wearing. And then your glasses are going to allow your doctor to be able to see what you're looking at and like, maybe it'll automatically see your food. You don't have to take pictures of your food and upload it to shit anymore. It just sees what you're doing. It sees your activity. It sees if you're running. It sees if you're climbing, if you're rock climbing or doing something else, or whatever it is. If you're, on your skateboard or what have you, if you're swimming or what have you, like it's a completely different world, right? And to me, especially with how many pairs of glasses now at the latest CES, it's like 5 or 6 different makers, right? Sadly, only one of them doing prescription level ones, but one day we will get recognized and we will get the proper equipment that we should have had from the beginning because people who wear glasses should be the first people who get glasses. But sadly, it's whatever, man. It's whatever. Anyhow, I see that as being, people talk about what's the next interface. It's voice with vision, with augmented vision and voice, so that you can see to interact with and speak to that interaction, right? Whether it's augmented reality or 3D, won't matter. Your screen will just quite literally like shades. It'll look like shades coming down, right? And all of a sudden your glasses become dark and all of a sudden now you're watching a movie or something like that, right? On the inside. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, and that's
I'll jump too far ahead, but I'll say it's going to be the only way you're going to recognize replicants.
Right. The infrastructure all around us. Like one of the first questions you should be asking, like, how do you use AI to support like the thing I'm about to pay you to do? Because what Nico described with if you invest in that AI functionality and then you go to a doctor that can't plug into it and you got to repeat all that work like out loud and manually, like, no, like there are doctors and there's in every domain right now, this is the difference between AI native or not, right? And if they're AI native, I would expect either a cost decrease or a significant value like increase for the same cost, right? And it's going to be very like, I really do think that this AI native question will be a great way to filter and qualify like pretty quickly. Because if you ask that question and they're like, oh, what do you mean? How do we use it? Like, okay, that's my answer. Like,
Bye-bye.
right? So there are ways it doesn't have to be complex, but without these tools, as Nico mentions, when you start having videos and especially robots that look like people, like walking around, you're going to need this extra capability to, discern what's right for you. As we wrap up, I am done making my first video with my voice included. So let's see if I can get to that. So the video, the MP4, which is like 3.5 minutes, is in this place, which says out. There it is. You go to video. So this is in my local file structure where it saved it.
Yep.
And welcome to the 4 Unified Views framework from Value First Team. Most organizations struggle with fragmented data scattered across disconnected systems. Sales sees one thing, support sees another. Marketing has their own view. In leadership, they're left asking questions that take days or weeks to answer. The 4 unified views bring, let's talk about the problem. Data fragmentation.
And that sounds.
Sales sees their pipeline, but they don't see customer health signals from support. Support sees tickets, but they don't know what sales promised. Marketing sees engagement metrics, but they can't see the depth of customer relationships. In leadership, they ask simple questions that nobody can answer quickly. The hidden cost is real. The first unified view is the customer view. This is about seeing the complete relationship. Every person who interacts with customers should see complete relationship context, right where they already work. Sales sees support tickets before their calls. Support sees sales commitments before troubleshooting issues. Marketing sees content engagement patterns. And leadership sees health metrics without request. The second unified view is the revenue view. This is about understanding commercial health, not through optimistic pipeline numbers or historical accounting, but through relationship-based truth. Sales sees usage patterns before asking for expansion. Delivery sees deal commitments before starting work. Finance sees deal progression in real time. The third unified view is the business context view. This is where data becomes intelligence. Intelligence should be available where decisions happen, not locked away in data warehouses, not requiring analyst requests, but embedded directly in workflows. This includes 5 layers: interaction history, behavioral signals, external intelligence, comparative context, and predictive intelligence. The fourth unified view is team enablement. This is about capability multiplication, achieving enterprise-level sophistication without enterprise headcount. It comes down to 4 elements. Clear ownership, so everyone knows who's responsible. Define processes, so everyone knows the right next step. Seamless handoffs with no information loss. And smart automation. Together, these 4 views transform operations. Customer view shows you who they are. Revenue view shows you what they're worth. Context view shows you what you know. And team view shows you how to serve them. This isn't 4 separate initiatives. It's one unified framework that creates compounding visibility across your entire organization. Learn more at valueFirstTeam.com or book off.
That's
Claude Code did all the work.
Yeah.
Like he built the script. Obviously, it's not perfect, but it's like 90% done.
Yeah.
And because we've been building in the way that we've been building, and I don't see Claude Code as just a developer that just does code. He can.
Yep.
It's possible. And then guess what? There's 50 more presentations like that.
Yeah.
That have an article, that have a video. And I don't, and I'm good on that voice.
Yeah.
I don't think there was nothing I could point to that was like, oh, I don't say it like that.
No. Again, we've said this months and months and months ago to kind of close us out. Like, pay attention. Everything's changing.
Yeah. Until next time, folks, this has been Tech Stack Reimagined. Hopefully you can do some reimagining.
There you go.
We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, boys.
Thanks, Chris. Bye.